My wife, 28F, of 3 years called me, 35M, boring for my lack of ambition and being content in life. I love my job. It's close to home and has flexible hours. The pay ain't bad either considering I have no degree. My wife and I with our income can afford a good living. We have 2 kids. A son and daughter. My son is 4, we had a kid early on before marriage. Was a happy accident, and my daughter too. We were talking Friday and I mentioned my boss was leaving. My wife asked if I was gonna take his spot. I laughed and said, hell fucking no. Who wants it? This led to a fight. My wife accused me of lacking ambition and said I'm boring for just accepting things in life. She said it's insane she has to be the breadwinner, she has to claw her way up the corporate ladder. She's ambitious, she constantly takes OT and tries to get promoted, but I've been working same role, same job for 7 years and just accept it. She thinks I've become boring. My carefree attitude makes her bored. Ambition is sexy, it's what men should be. She said if I grew a backbone I could be making 6 figures by now. We could be living in New York or have a bigger house. I don't understand her logic. Genuinely don't. I'm happy with my life. I'm content. Why do I have to be a corporate shark constantly seeking my way up the ladder? I just want to my 9 to 6 and go home and see my family. I like having my weekends. I like being happy. We have money. For once we aren't struggling life, how can I tell my wife I'm just happy? Why is someone being happy seen as wrong? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm with you 100%. I think about this comic a lot whenever I start to doubt myself. The only part that gives me pause is your wife saying, why do I have to be the main breadwinner? Would you comfortable life be possible if she also took your approach? That is, to what extent is her kind of ambition, because I think you're equally as ambitious, just towards a different goal, what allows you to pursue the life you want? Does she want to work less? These are important questions about how you work together as a team while also pursuing your own individual ambitions. Reply, would you comfortable life be possible if she also took your approach? That is, to what extent is her kind of ambition, because I think you're equally as ambitious, just towards a different goal, what allows you to pursue the life you want? Does she want to work less? These are important questions about how you work together as a team while also pursuing your own individual ambitions. Yes. She doesn't make much more than me. 10K, I make 48K. She makes around 60K. She's a salaried manager at a big box retailer. But, she chose to do this. She liked running a business and she loved working retail. She wants to go into corporate. But, we live in a low cost of living area. Our house was $210K for 3 bedrooms, that was a fucking steal. My mortgage is cheaper than my rent for 2-bedroom tiny apartment. And by cheaper I mean $300 cheaper. I pay $1,350 for my mortgage. My rent was $1,600. Outrageous, right? But, it was all I could find. I can't afford to move to the big city and live a life of luxury. It's just never happening. She thinks if we both climb the ladder in a few years we'll be making 6 figures and living in a mansion. That won't happen and it's not my dream. I just want to live my life with a job that isn't stressful and that I enjoy and not be overburdened with stress. Is that wrong of me? She's very much of the men should be the breadwinners and not women. She should take a relaxed approach and stay home with the kids. Commenter 2. Your house payments sound good for your combined income amount. Would there be any other monetary stressors for why your wife might feel this way? For instance, does she feel you don't have enough saved for retirement, emergency fund, kids' college or other expenses? Just wondering if there's another reason why she's wanting you to move up the ladder. If all your family's needs are taken care of and you're financially secure, then being happy and content should be enough. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, not saying that's the case, then that could be a large reason for why she's feeling the way she is. Reply, we aren't living paycheck to paycheck. We did before we had kids and before marriage. But, not now. I get it, if we did she'd have every right to be upset. That life isn't worth living. But, we have our needs met. Why do we have to be rich? Unless, the kids are going to Harvard, our needs are met. I can afford a vacation. We haven't had a vacation since COVID. And likely won't take one anytime soon since the kids aren't vaxxed and she won't get the vaccine. Update. Well, it's a divorce. We're just 2 different people going different directions. So, her initial reasons were envy. She admits she was envious I could just accept my life the way it is and be happy with so little. I could be happy never moving up in my career. She was envious I could go home happy and not stressed and not dread the work week. She never has that luxury. She's always stressed, always feeling worthless for getting such a late start in life. But, the real reason, she's not happy with her life. She admits to me she cannot be happy with this life. Living in the suburbs, being a soccer mom, this life isn't for her. She tried making it work but, she can't do it. She wants to constantly claw her way up the ladder, constantly drive to improve. She wants a big house, be rich, be somebody and not just live. She wants someone who is equally as ambitious and not, me, someone who is content. She wants to be with someone who is willing to take major risks, spur-of-the-moment plans. To her it's like a constant pressure. She doesn't want to stay in one place, do the same thing forever. I'm the exact opposite. I don't want to constantly be moving, constantly be doing more. I want to be happy and live a quiet humble life. She cannot understand how I could want to and I could not fathom why she wouldn't either. So we're left at an impasse. We both have decided we can't go on. It isn't fair to either of us nor our kids. Not a happy update I guess. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She admits she was envious I could just accept my life the way it is and be happy with so little. Honestly, your wife seems to put a lot of importance on money and prestige to fill whatever emptiness she has. You can be a content person who spends time with your family and still be somebody. Sorry you're divorcing, but I think it'll be better for everyone in the long run. Reply. That's society as a whole. Go look at the last thread, so many people calling me a loser, a failure for not sharing the same ideals. I've had so many people DM saying how much a loser I am for not wanting to be rich. I had everything I wanted. Nice job, nice house, a family, no worries about money. But, it's never enough, never will be enough. The idea you aren't chasing after the dollar is seen as backwards. Top comment. Commenter 1. I'm very sorry OP. Well, at least you guys aren't wasting time. You've processed through this and figured out your goals are different. Eventually you will find a person whose ideals align with yours, and your spouse will find the same. It's not ideal, but it's better the kids grow up in two houses where everyone is happy. Tension in unhappy relationships are very apparent to the kids. They pick up the emotions. I hope you heal well and find what you want, and what wants you too, real soon. Good luck internet stranger. AITA for dismissing my ex's wife and telling her I don't care what she wants. I have 2 children, 11 and 10, with my ex-husband. We divorced on not so great terms. Mostly due to his job, which is relevant to now. About a year into our 6-year marriage he changed jobs. It wasn't a huge deal at first and he was honest that it required him to work out of town once a month, which wasn't too bad. One night of him being gone was fine. But then he accepted a job change which acted as a promotion but not a direct promotion. This job he took without telling me and it required more travel. I told him I wasn't okay with being left like that for who knows how long. I said if he didn't dedicate time to our family or took another so-called promotion like this without talking it over with me first, I was done with our marriage. By the time I was pregnant with our second child he did the same thing again and I followed through. I moved out and took our oldest with me. The house was his from before our marriage, so it wasn't a marital asset and I didn't fight him on that. But during our divorce, when our second child was several months old, he acknowledged in court that he had chosen to take a different position again that would see him out of town on a regular basis, could be gone anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks a month. This was what ultimately led to him getting 1 to 2 weekends a month depending on his work schedule. But only if he has the kids. If he's home during any school breaks he can have them then. But only for as long as he is home. This worked in some way until he remarried. His wife was constantly saying custody could be 50-50 now and the kids would be with her, and I refused to entertain that idea. If they weren't going to see their dad they weren't going to his house. Now she and my ex have a child together, a baby who can't be more than 6 months old, and she's relentless about having the kids at her house more. She uses the app my ex and I use for communication to request time. She tried to impersonate my ex, but a letter from my lawyer quickly put a stop to that. So now she's upfront that she wants the kids there more. She said when the kids are at her house they act like strangers. I think it makes sense since that's what they basically are. Their dad is one too. My kids don't like their dad's wife. She makes them uncomfortable because she's not very good at listening to their boundaries on personal space, she tries to force hugs, and because she's repeatedly told them they could call her mom or ma if they'd like. Now my ex's wife is using her child as a reason the kids should be there 50% of the time. She wrote out this lengthy email to me about all her reasons why she feels it would be in the best interest of the kids. I replied with no and left it at that. She found this dismissive and confronted me in person to tell me that. She said she wants more time with my kids and to bond with them and for her child to bond with them. I told her I don't care about her wants and she needs to leave it alone. My ex doesn't get involved. My lawyer knows everything and we did mention ex's wife contacting me when we last saw the judge, but due to my ex's already limited parenting time the court won't do anything more. So I don't have a lot of options available to me. I just wonder now if I was wrong to be dismissive and say I don't care about her wants, whether that's just a way to add conflict. Stories number 3. AITA for breaking up with my fiancée for telling her best friend she was not engaged. My now ex-fiancée, 30F, and me, M27, got engaged 3 weeks ago. We've been dating for 5 years and I finally got the money to give her the wedding she wanted. Well, 3 days ago we were discussing our guest list, and I asked if she wanted to invite her best friend, let's call him James, M30. James lives in another state, but since they were friends for 10 years, I thought I could even pay for his travel expenses since it would be great to have her best friend at the wedding. She denied, saying that it would take a lot of work to bring him, and she wanted to be a family event. Countless times she mentioned that James was like family to her, so I insisted. She got annoyed and said, I didn't even told him we were engaged. That took me by surprise. I tried to ask why, but she started stonewalling me, and I left her alone. After a couple of hours, I tried to ask her again why she hadn't told him we were engaged, and she still refused to tell me, and I admit, my insecurity got the better of me. In the past, James had confessed he had feelings for her, which she turned down and basically friend-zoned him. But by the way she told me, it always sounded like she had him as a backup, something not only me, but her exes realized. She married him online. They always made they WoW characters look like a couple, like wearing the same transom and shit like that. When she had a fight with her exes, he was always there for her, and etc. I told her that made me uncomfortable and if she was not planning to tell him, she might as well consider herself single, cause I would not marry someone who couldn't be honest. Yes, I was pretty immature, but she did something even more immature. She texted him while showing me her phone something like, hey, just so you know, I was engaged, but not anymore, and send it to him. I told her to pack her things and leave my house. Ever since she left, she has been calling me, but I refused to answer. My mom called me, because she apparently called my mom, and said that I was an asshole for ending things for such a ridiculous thing. So, AITA, edit, sorry for the typo in the title. Edit 2, hey guys, I made some dinner and I think I'm gonna go with, cool username BTW. I'm gonna ask her to meet up and ask to see their messages. And 2, I'm already low contact with my mom, but I'm going to make my decisions after I clear everything up. So I'm kinda promising an update. Commenter 1. Do you provide most material things, including the house? Your post said, my house. Are you paying down her school or other debt? Don't let anyone use you financially if their heart isn't in it too. Edit. Know a man whose wife left him a matter of weeks after she graduated. Guess whose cash put her through college? Reply, yes. I pay for the house, bills and her car. She moved in 2 years ago. Other than that, she pays for her own things. Update 1. As commented on my original post, I pay for the house since I bought it before dating her and I asked her to move in, since it was close to her job. I work from home since I'm in tech, but she had to go to work, that's why I paid for her car, to help her commute, and honestly her salary is shit. I was her partner, so I didn't see any problem with that. I thought she was the one, despite everything. She is smart, funny, we had chemistry, but I felt betrayed. We met at a coffee shop on the premise we would discuss how to save our relationship, at least, that's what she thought. As soon as we sat down, I asked to see their messages. She got defensive immediately and told me she had deleted everything. I asked to see her phone anyway. She started to cry, ugly cry, asking me to stop. At that point I had already decided I was not going to be part of the relationship anymore, but damn, I was curious. It took a good 20 minutes for her to hand me her phone, a lot of crying, even a waitress asking her if she was okay. So I read the messages. There wasn't any cheating like nudes being exchanged, them professing their love for each other, but what I read still stung. There was a lot of shit talking about me. A lot. Texts and texts of them saying how terrible of a person I was, criticizing my hobbies, I like video games and pro wrestling, saying I wasn't a real man because of them and stuff like that. But there were 2 topics that caught my eye. One where she had told him I was having trouble getting hard and that was frustrating for her. And one where she was complaining about how she didn't want to be stuck in our relationship. Yes, I was having problems in bed, because I was sad because my father had passed away 6 months ago, and the stuck thing, I remember telling her that when we got married, if she wanted she could leave her job, and I would provide for both of us. I don't know if she took this the wrong way, but I guess it was related to that. I honestly don't know. By the time I gave her the phone back, she was already giving excuses on why she was saying those things to him, how he was like a therapist for her, and then she asked me, "Don't you complain about me to your friends?" And I simply replied, "No, I don't." She started crying again. I took a pretty deep breath and just said, "Just give me the ring back." I didn't have the ring with me, like some suggested. She hesitated a bit, but gave it to me anyway. I stood up and asked her to delete my number and to not bother me anymore. I called her mom and asked her to pick up her daughter's stuff at my place. Her mom is a good person, I'm just realizing I'm going to miss her as I write this. She understood why I decided to end it, but she didn't ask much, and to be honest, I'm glad she didn't. As for my mom, I didn't call her, I just blocked her for things unrelated to this post. I just realized she never had my back in anything. I was always trying to save an already failed mom-son relationship. Before I leave, I just want to clarify. I was never against her having male friends, or any type of friends. People are going to cheat, friends or no friends. I remember my dad saying something to me when I was a teenager. He always said, "Opportunity makes the thief," but I do not agree with that. Anyway, since I have the next 2 weeks off work, I'm going to figure what to do with the wedding money, drink some booze, play games, and watch Monday Night Raw later. Peace. P.S. Sorry for any typos, but I fixed the title now. Edit. A couple of people are asking about the car. Is a 2015 Nissan Versa which she crashed 2 times, both times she rear-ended someone. Never liked the car, weak engine, the interior feels cheap and overall bad, so for all I care she can keep that piece of shit. I would have more luck throwing it off a cliff than selling it. Edit 2, little update. Her mom called me a few hours ago to check on me and to ask when she could come and pick up X's stuff. We spoke about the car and she basically forbid me to let her daughter keep the car because, 1, I paid for it. 2, X wouldn't be able to maintain it. So I'm going to keep the car until I'm able to sell it, God help me. Also, some people called the story fake, cause they said I wasn't a real man for playing games, and yet they played WoW. To be honest, that's on me, cause I wasn't very clear. The real man thing was more about the pro wrestling hobby than the gaming hobby, but in some messages they clearly mocked me for playing some games. Life is Strange series. In one I remember James saying something like, "How could a grown-ass man play such a girly game and cry?" Yes, I cried playing Life is Strange. I also cried to RDR2, the I'm Afraid cut scene still makes me emotional. I'm a crybaby I guess. Also I want to thank everyone who messaged me to talk about wrestling and games, it really helped me take my mind out of everything. I haven't replied to everyone, but I intend to. If anything happens, I'll let you guys know. Be good people. Update 2, hey guys. It's been a couple of days since I used this account to tell my story, and something's happened, but this is a positive update. First I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out in my DMs and commented saying nice things, it felt really good and I appreciate y'all, some of you actually made me tear up with your kind messages. Second, I saw my 2 previous posts were in a YT video of a guy who reads Reddit posts and my update was on Besto Updates, a subreddit I read a lot, and that caught me off guard, but I want to express my gratitude for everyone who gave me advice, told their own story or just told me I was a cool guy. Reading your messages before writing this felt amazing. I also want to say I thought about my engagement a lot, and I have no regrets whatsoever. Yeah, things ended badly and she was not a good person to me at the end, but I just don't hate her, nor do I wish for her to fail. We had good moments, I felt happy with her and again I really thought she was the one. Feeling hatred was going to harm me more than her. To the update. Her mom came to pick up her stuff and we talked for hours, it felt like therapy. I cried on her shoulders, we laughed, she expressed how much I meant to her family, and that I would be always welcome in her home. It felt so good to hear her say those things to me. Before she left she asked me if I wanted to ask about my ex. I got curious and asked how she was doing. Her words were, "She's trying to act stoic, but I know my daughter, she's not taking this well." I left it at that. She gave me a hug and left. About the car, I'm going to donate it and get a tax write-off. But to the thing I'm excited about, is that I'm going to Royal Rumble. I never even watched Raw or SmackDown live, but now that I have the extra cash, I'm going to treat myself. Again, thank you all for reaching out. Sorry to the people who love drama that this update doesn't have an unwanted pregnancy, a fight, chaos, or a plot twist. The truth is that my life is just really boring. Be kind people. Update 3. Hello guys, most of you might not remember me cause my original post was 2 months ago, but something happened that I thought was worthy of an update. Well, since the breakup I tried to be as busy as possible. Go to work, gym, play on my new Switch. On weekends I started modding and repairing old consoles, a hobby that turned out to be quite expensive. NGL, I even modded my own Switch, sorry Nintendo. And I was managing to get through the days without feeling sad. Well, yesterday my ex-MIL called me to catch up on things. She has been calling me every week or so, and invited me to spend Christmas at her house with her family. I immediately refused, because even if I don't hate my ex, there are other people I would rather spend the holidays with. But then she said something that kinda made me a bit sad. She said my ex was not going to be there since she was spending her Christmas with James, since they are now, kinda dating, her words. I replied that I was not sure if I would go. I'm going to be honest, feelings are complex things. Maybe my pride or ego is hurt, since I feel she moved on really quickly. Maybe I still have feelings, I don't know. 2 months is not a long time when it comes to this stuff. My ex-MIL had no intention of making me sad. She is a really honest person and I do believe she was just explaining that it was okay for me to go, since my ex wouldn't be there. So yeah, I'm feeling kinda shitty right now, but it will pass. Maybe I even change my mind and go spend Christmas with them. XMIL's food is one of the best I ever ate, I wouldn't mind a free plate lol. And I want to apologize to the people who sent DMs about buying the car. By the time I saw your messages, I already had donated. That's it. Happy holidays to everyone. Edit. Hey everyone, I read your comments and people were really divided about me spending Christmas with my ex-MIL. There are people that said I should move on and decline the invitation, that way my healing process would be a lot better and faster. There were also people who told me to go to piss off my ex, to be close to them since they care about me. A lot of you guys had really great points on both opinions. Well, I texted my ex-MIL this morning and told her I wasn't going to spend Christmas with her and her family. The idea of healing resonated with me a lot more than the idea of pissing my ex off, because if I'm petty, that would actually show her that I somehow still care, and I don't want her to get that idea. The opposite of love isn't hate, but indifference. And honestly ex-MIL would be the only person I would feel comfortable interacting with, cause I don't know her family that much, since they live in another state. Also, I was thinking about my extended family in Brazil and I'm wondering if I should plan a trip to meet a year from now. That gives me time to save some more money and travel without having to worry about that. I have my aunt, dad's sister, on Facebook. I'm gonna contact her to see if I can meet them and get to know them a bit more, see how this goes. Thanks everyone. Be good people. New update, coworker interacts so much with me, a rumor that we are dating has started going around, 3 months and a week after the original post. Mid-December, the company I, 27M, work for decided that whoever was working remotely should go to work in person at least 3 times a week. At work there is this girl Jackie, F22, who started in November. I only knew her from Slack, but since the decision, she and I became good acquaintances. We had a secret Santa, and I ended up getting her. It wasn't hard to think of a gift. I know she's a Swifter, so I got her a 1989 Taylor's version in vinyl. She was super happy. But then she started to get a little too friendly. It started by her setting her lunch break to the same time as mine to hang out. She usually had her lunch 30 minutes before me, then she asked her manager to come Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the same days I work in person, inviting me to dinner saying other people would be there. But, surprisingly, they all cancelled at the last moment. This happened twice by the way. Whenever she talks to me, she touches either my arm or grab my hand. She laughs at all of my jokes, even the bad ones, which are all of them, and she started watching wrestling, knowing I'm a big fan. Seeing her behavior, people started spreading a rumor that we were secretly dating, which made her giggle when she found out. HR even called us to say that if we were really in a relationship, we had to disclosure due to conflict of interest. She said, "We are just really good friends." Am I seeing too much into it? She said we are just really good friends, but I've known her for only a month, and her behavior is kinda flirty sometimes. I'm really lost. She is a really nice person. I'm starting to feel like that video, is she into you? And my answer is, see. Can't tell, help. Edit, I read your comments and I will ask her if she's having feelings for me. Since tomorrow I work from home, I will try to think of ways to navigate this situation, and I will ask her to meet me at a restaurant on Wednesday after work. Update. I don't care if anyone is going to read this, but she texted me and invited me to go to her place today at 7 p.m. to watch a reality show called Singles Inferno. She told me to bring wine. I accepted. Oh boy, I'm fking nervous. Update 2, I went to her place and the first thing she said was that she loved the cologne I was using. She had ordered pizza and we watched the show. The show sucks big time, but making jokes with her about it while being a bit wine drunk was really great. Out of the sudden she seemed kinda nervous, paused and said she had something to say. Basically I didn't have to say anything, because she confessed that she was having feelings for me, but she was nervous to say anything, because apparently I was hard to read. I didn't know what to say, I kept looking at her, and she kept looking at me, and it was the most awkward silence I ever experienced. But then she leaned in and kissed me. It felt good, really good. I haven't felt my heart race like that in a very long time. I spent the night at her place, and yeah, we got intimate, and I will leave it at that. Then we talked to each other until 5 a.m. and I got some answers from her. First time she invited me to dinner, she actually invited other people and they really cancelled at the last moment. She wanted me there cause it was less scary to approach me in a group setting. The second time she really planned to have just me at dinner with her. For her it was frustrating that I wasn't noticing all the signs she was giving, at the same time she thought it was cute. Inviting me to watch the show and drink wine was her Hail Mary attempt of making me realize that she liked me. TLDR, she likes me. Stories number 4. I, 22F, found a hidden folder on my girlfriend's, 22F, hard drive with heaps and heaps of photos of her stepsister, 26F. I'm all over the place now and could really use someone's help. Been with my girlfriend for 18 months now. It's been really smooth sailing so far. We have similar hobbies but different enough jobs that I always love her coming over me going to hers and talking about our days. I could honestly sit and listen to this girl for hours. She's incredibly funny, insanely smart, so gorgeous, and I'm constantly gobsmacked that she wants to be with me. That's why this is so hard. It's come out of left field and I have no idea what to do. So we don't live together right now, but we are only about 15 minutes apart and the majority of nights we are with each other. The other night girlfriend left her hard drive at mine. She keeps lots of TV shows, movies on it, and she brought it over to watch something with me. She obviously forgot it in the morning when she left. I had a day free and wanted to watch something. She's really into sci-fi stuff and has tried to get me to watch some shows, but it just isn't my thing. But I thought I'd surprise her and try to get into one of her favorites so we could watch it together. I was looking at a bunch of shows, Firefly, Dr. Who, Star Trek etc., to try to find one that looked manageable. I didn't want to commit to something with a million seasons like Dr. Who apparently has. I decided on Firefly. For those who don't know, it's just a season long. But in all the video files there was a folder that was one just titled, UGG, which obviously is such a weird folder name. I assumed it was porn or something, but when I went into it there was just masses and masses of photos, videos, screenshots of texts from my GF stepsister. What the fuck? I honestly thought I was dreaming, going through all this junk. I have no idea what's going on. It looks so dodgy, right, that she has obviously hidden this folder, moved all the photos of stepsister into here instead of on iPhoto or something. At first I had such dread, like she must be cheating on me with her stepsister, like we're living in some fucking porno. But the photos are all pretty innocent, from what I've seen, just day-to-day stuff. There's some weirder ones like photos of stepsister napping on the couch or swimming in the pool sunbathing, like they make me think she didn't know they were being taken. But at the same time, she has taken similar photos of me and our friends, but shown them to me later. Just messing around on her phone. And there's photos of the sister just around the house in her undies and a t-shirt. Again, if I saw that on my GF's phone I wouldn't pay much attention, but now I don't know. Is that a weird photo to have of a sibling? The texts aren't sexy or anything either, mostly they are from the stepsister saying stuff like, I don't know what I'd do without you, no one makes me laugh like this. This girl in at work makes me think of you, I already love her, etc. Like if I saw them on my GF's phone in the convo, I wouldn't think anything of it. It's the fact that she's screenshotted them and saved them to this weird folder that freaks me out. The backstory is my GF and her stepsister have been living together since my GF was like 9 to 10, and the sister was 13 to 14. I know my GF worships her sister, and look, it's for good reason. The sister is super charming, beautiful, and really successful in her field of work, veterinarian. She's caring too. She is for sure the whole package, and I definitely get a bit giggly when she's around. She's just that sort of girl. I never thought my GF's feelings for her went any further than being platonic until now though. I don't think they are having an affair. The sister is engaged and really in love with the guy. She has said she identifies as straight. My GF has always been pretty judgmental, negative of the future brother-in-law, but I chalked that up to just being protective. Now I don't know. Is she jealous? What do I do? I have no idea how to bring this up with my GF. Again, I feel like the only evidence I have that something shifty is going on is that she took the time to move every photo video regarding the sister into a folder that has clearly been hidden. There is nothing in the folder that is weird, apart from the sheer amount of stuff in there. It's over 7,000 files. GF is not a photographer aside from the casual social media stuff. I'm sorry this is all over the place. I need some help, please tell me what your take is. Thanks. TLDR, found a hidden file on my GF's computer with over 7,000 files, photos, videos, screenshotted texts, from her stepsister. Have no idea how to proceed. Top comments. Commenter 1. Just chiming in with something that hasn't been mentioned yet. Maybe your girlfriend wants to be her rather than to be with her. She could be envious of her and kind of obsessively studying her and trying to win her approval. Still strange and worth asking her about. Commenter 2. I have a whole folder of my sister's stuff, photos, files, scans of her important documents, list of her passwords, other random stuff on my hard drive. It's a second backup for her. It's also labeled a derogatory name as a joke. I guess if someone saw that with no discussion or explanation it could end up starting all sorts of conspiracy theories. Before you make a leap to a wild conclusion, talk to your girlfriend. There's likely a totally normal reason for this. Commenter 3. Well, there are some possibilities here. First, she may just have a crush on her. It happens. Your GF may know full well she has no chance and may not even want a chance, but saving that stuff made her happy. Second, I have to ask if your GF has ever had a friend that died young. I've been with my best friend for 25 years and I save all of our conversations and every photo. Everything. Why? Because 2 of our closest friends died before we turned 30 and we had nothing backed up. We struggled to find anything to hold on to. Now, we both save everything. This is definitely strange, but the reason why she's doing it should determine what, if anything, you do or say about it. I'd mention you found it and be like, I wasn't trying to snoop, was trying to watch sci-fi, but all your sister's stuff is on your drive. Reply, I get keeping momentous and I know I keep every blurry shitty photo that's on my phone, because yeah I agree, you never know what memories are going to be really special. It's the fact that the folder was hidden, named, ugh, and just of the sister that's frightening me. I know we need to talk. I just worry that she will lie to me and minimize her feelings for the sister and I'll have no way to know if she's being honest. Thanks for your advice, it's a different take. She hasn't lost anybody except a grandfather, and I have never had the sense they were close. But it's definitely a possible explanation. Commenter 3. 7,000 of anything is an obsession. There's some psychological component that you are missing, sexual or not. Almost all of us have had relationships that are hard to define. I knew of 2 twin brothers that slept in the same bed up to and including 22 years old. It was completely odd. The reality of the situation is her mental health. If she was in love with this person, maybe she moved on to you, and the stepsister was the last person she was emotionally close to, and now you are the new person she is obsessing over. I bet she has many photos of you sleeping that you don't know about. Ugh, is her accepting the fact her emotional relationship is fractured because one or both are straight and have grown up. The sis is married, and your girl is with you. Reply, I agree with it seeming like an obsession. I'm terrified that this means she is in love with her stepsister, knows it would never happen and now I'm the consolation prize. I'm scared she will tell me it's innocent and I have no way of knowing if that's the truth or not. Commenter 4. When is the date on the most recent thing added? If it isn't recent, she might have had a crush on the sister for a while, and forgot to delete it or something. Technically it's not incest since it's a step-sibling, but it is still kind of weird. 7,000 pictures is a lot. I think you should ask her about it, and be honest and say how you found it. Reply, it's in front of me now, I arranged it by date added, latest was 2 weeks ago, was a text convo. My GF sent the sister a photo of her in the dress she has bought for a ball we are going to, and the sister replied, damn girl, with all these love heart eye emojis and the fire emojis. So yeah, it is definitely ongoing, whatever it is. The oldest are photos of them when they were still in high school. Commenter 5. It seems strange, but can't it be a surprise for her step-sister birthday? She decided to save all the memories that she could to have a huge database and, then, select the best ones to prepare the surprise. I know this is just a theory, but it's impossible to know with this facts only. Can't you talk to her and explain that you found the photos, even though you were not actively trying to do so? I mean, explain your motives or it will appear like you were snooping, and ask her the meaning of that folder. It's always best to talk, especially in these type of situations. Good luck, OP, I hope this is just a misunderstanding. Reply, I thought this could be an option too, but the title of, ugh, made me worry that it wasn't as innocent as a gift. In addition to it being hidden, I don't know why she would have hidden the folder if it was a present. She doesn't live with the sister and it seems like a crazy precaution to take when sister doesn't even use the hard drive. I know I should talk to her and I plan on doing so. I'm just trying to get myself squared with what I want to say. Thank you for your advice, smiley face. Update. Hi guys, a few people hit me up for an update and I wanted to let you all know what ended up happening. Thanks for everyone's support and advice. I wasn't expecting so many people to comment and I really appreciate everyone's feedback. I've added some fake names here because there's more people involved and I think it gets more confusing. From all the comments I got the sense that I was hugely overreacting. I'm an anxious person who can jump to the worst case scenario a lot of the times. It's something I'm really trying to work on because I don't like that side of myself. That's really why I came here, to get another opinion before talking to my girlfriend. And you all slapped some sense into me, so thank you for that. So my girlfriend came over that night, and I decided to follow people's advice and just talk to her about it honestly and be completely upfront. I said, I wanted to surprise you by getting into Firefly, so I went onto your hard drive to get it, and read it. My heart just broke. She was excited and wanted to put it right on so we could watch it together. I knew then that what I thought had happened didn't. She obviously didn't make the connection with the folder being hidden in her Firefly folders and was just keen to watch the show with me. That little reaction just made me feel so relieved. It's hard to explain, but I knew then that there was no way she was hiding this big secret, and she obviously didn't have any shame or embarrassment around the hidden folder, because she didn't even remember that the folder was in there. So I just said that I had accidentally found the folder of her stepsister, Lizzie, the one called Ugh. I asked why she had made it. Her face just fell and she was quiet for a bit. And then she told me this whole story. So I had noticed my GF had been quiet and a bit sad recently, but she's been working a lot and I just assumed she was super tired. But no, like a few of you guessed, she had had a big fight with Lizzie. A few weeks ago a high school friend, Gina, of my GF got in contact with her on Facebook. Gina is fairly religious and goes to church a lot. Gina said she didn't want to make waves in my GF's family, but wanted to let her know, the guy Lizzie is marrying, John, is well known in the Christian community in our area for being involved in those gay conversion workshops and seminars. Gina wanted to make sure my girlfriend was okay, and seemed to think maybe she had accepted John's work out of some internalized homonegativity. My girlfriend, and I, did not know that John did stuff like that. I only knew that he was a therapist and that he went to church, and my girlfriend said he had only ever been introduced like that to her. She said she was pretty sure her parents didn't know either, as they have always been loving and accepting of her and would be outraged over John's line of work. She was worried that John had been lying to Lizzie as well, and contacted Lizzie to tell her what she had heard from Gina. Obviously it didn't go well. Lizzie was very defensive, and basically just kept telling my GF that John's beliefs were his beliefs and Lizzie had no right to make any assumptions over it. It was clear Lizzie knew what John was doing and was completely fine with it, and was hiding it through omission from her family. My GF cried and cried through telling me this. As I said in my last post, Lizzie was such a hero to my GF and she loves her so much, so this acceptance is such a betrayal. I think that's why she didn't tell me when it first happened, and when she hid those files, she just didn't want to have to deal with it, because Lizzie hurt her so much by not caring what John does for therapy. These workshops focus on telling gay kids adults of how wrong and perverted they are, and basically force them back into the closet. They focus on scaring parents into cutting support off from their gay children and use all these horrible tactics to basically force these people to hide their sexuality. So she said she just couldn't stand having all these reminders of Lizzie scattered through her computer, so she ended up just putting them all into one folder and hiding it. I guess ugh meant ugh, I don't want to deal with this right now. We're sort of at a loss to do now. I'm obviously just trying to give my girlfriend as much support as I can, because everything is her decision now. Lizzie doesn't seem willing to see that what her fiancé has dedicated his life to is so painful for her sister. My GF doesn't know whether to tell her parents. On one hand, it's going to be horrible, painful, awkward as balls to have family dinners with this future brother-in-law who thinks that her and me are defective. And my GF is pretty sure both her parents, including her stepdad, would do what they can to protect her from John. On the other hand, she loves Lizzie so much and doesn't want to force her away from her family. It's not Lizzie's profession, and John has never been outright nasty to my GF. So it's still in motion, but I wanted to let you guys know what's happened since my last post. I'm obviously relieved my GF doesn't have feelings for Lizzie, but this is still heartbreaking in a different way. It's horrible to see my GF so upset, and I'm just trying to give her as much love and care as humanly possible. I'm excited for tonight because I borrowed a projector from my friend and am going to set it up so we can watch Firefly on the wall of my living room. I'm going to make us a big blanket fort and order pizza so we can snuggle and watch TV all night. Thank you all again, it means the world to me that you all took time out of your lives to offer advice to me. TLDR, my GF hid photos and texts of her stepsister because they are fighting and she didn't want to look at them. Turns out stepsister is marrying a homophobe that works for a church performing those gay conversion workshops. Edit. Thank you to everyone for such an outpouring of support, it means so much to me. My GF and I had a big talk last night and she is going to tell her parents. It's likely they will find out at some point anyway, and it isn't fair that my GF should feel uncomfortable with her own family. And to the people who are saying John must be gay, please think about what you're saying and how offensive it is. Yes, there have been instances where intensely homophobic people are hiding same-sex attraction. But they are in the minority. If I came to you saying my GF was black and her sister was marrying a KKK member, no one would be saying, oh, he just wants to be black. Some people are just hateful. Stories number 5. AITA for refusing to let my mother-in-law hold my baby after she told my husband to get a paternity test. I, 28F, gave birth to my first child, a beautiful baby girl, 3 weeks ago. My husband, 30M, and I have been over the moon, but his mother has been causing non-stop drama. She never liked me. From the start, she made snide comments about how I trapped her son, even though we've been happily married for 4 years. When I got pregnant, she constantly joked about how the baby might not be his. I brushed it off as her usual passive-aggressive behavior, until I found out she took it way further. 2 days after I gave birth, my husband got a text from his mom saying, "You should get a DNA test." You never know these days. I was devastated when I saw it. My husband was furious and told her off, saying he had zero doubts about me and that her comment was disgusting. She tried to backtrack, saying she was just looking out for him. Now she wants to come over and meet the baby. But I told my husband that she will not be holding our daughter. If she wants to question whether my child is even her grandchild, then she doesn't get the privilege of bonding with her. My husband understands why I'm upset, but he thinks we should let her come, just once, so she doesn't play the victim with the rest of the family. Now she's crying to everyone, saying I'm keeping her granddaughter from her, and that I'm punishing her over a harmless question. Some family members think I'm being dramatic and should be the bigger person. But why should I let someone who disrespected me and my child hold her like nothing happened? AITA for refusing to let her hold my baby. Stories number 6. AITA for demanding that my fiancé's parents change their plans to have a vacation at the same place as our honeymoon. My fiancé and I have our wedding coming up in April. We had brainstormed for a while on where best to spend our honeymoon. We went over the more popular and well-known places but then landed on a more offbeat destination that I felt would truly be a great place for us to start our life as a married couple. I've been looking forward to it just being the two of us. I know he has a really hectic work schedule and we were going to make the most out of this. A couple of days ago he told me that his parents had been impressed by how hyped I was about it and were planning on going there for a vacation too, largely overlapping with our dates. They're staying at the same hotel as us. I was livid. They can go any other time, why now? He said he had suggested that but his mom said they had taken time off for the wedding too, and it worked well into their plans. Also, that since we're going to be going back it'll allow them to maybe see us a few times before we leave. I was almost in tears, I was so angry. He tried to reassure me saying they had promised it'll be 2 separate things and they won't be inserting themselves in our honeymoon, they want us to enjoy it, and they'd be doing their own thing. I want to believe it but I know his mom, I like her as a soon-to-be MIL but she can be very clingy and routinely laments how far he, and now us, are from them so I just have a feeling the 2 plans are not going to be as independent as he thinks they'll be. I vented about it to my parents too, my mom agreed with me that this isn't right, my dad is more on the fence about it, he doesn't think everything is ruined. I've demanded my fiancé make them change their plans, he says he asked them to, they promised to do their own thing, what can he do? Tell them he doesn't believe them and call them liars. I messed up here and said if that's what it takes. He got quiet, I realized that was too much and sincerely apologized for crossing the line. This has been eating me up, I was envisioning a certain type of honeymoon and this happened. AITA. Relevant comments. Comment 1. As much as it sucks, the only way to truly secure an IL-free honeymoon would be to cancel your plans and go somewhere else. Not ideal, but there's no way you're not going to accidentally bump into them the whole time they're there. Reply. A few other comments have said this too. I truly appreciate what you're saying and I know I'm overreacting here, but this makes me want to bawl my eyes out. Comment 2. Is it possible to change the honeymoon to your second choice and surprise your now husband on the way to the airport? Reply. As long as the dates are the same he'd be good. He had said he was good with wherever made me happy so he's not too fussed about where it is. There was only one place he particularly wanted to go, which I was on board with too, but we can't go there because of external issues. But after that he was okay with wherever. So I'm positive that's possible, I'm really hoping I don't have to though. Comment 3. Extreme info diet for now on. The in-laws only find out about your vacation plans when you get back and show them the pics. Same thing when you start having kids. Extreme info diet on all pregnancy details, dates, hospitals, and for God's sake, do not discuss baby names until after birth and the certificate is signed. Reply. Yeah, I messed up here a bit. He'd told me back then that he hadn't told his parents yet that we'd confirmed our honeymoon destination. But he didn't tell me why, otherwise I'd have followed his cue. Then when she asked me later in a call, I'd told her where we were going and hyped up the place. I so regret that now. Comment 4, why do you have to change what you're wearing? It's your honeymoon. If they have a problem with what you're wearing, then remind them A, this is your honeymoon, 2, they said they would do their own thing so they should go do that, and finally, 3, it's your honeymoon. Reply, there were a couple of bikinis that I had bought for the beach which would definitely be considered tacky to wear in front of in-laws. Update 1. Hi, thank you for the advice in the original post. I thought over this more. I was heartened by the response here because I thought I was the one being OTT about this, but I saw that most people agreed that what they're doing isn't right. I really didn't want to change plans, so I planned to talk to him again, speaking respectfully about his parents but firm, because last time I had gone over the line a bit which had derailed our conversation. We met yesterday after work. I raised the issue with him again. I said that he knows how much I'd be looking forward to our honeymoon, I only plan on having it once, and his parents being there will ruin it for both of us. I also said that I didn't want to change anything about it, not the hotel or the destination, it just wasn't fair. He said he doesn't like that they're coming either, but they're giving their word to not interfere. But to me it's not about believing them, just that the honeymoon I had in mind is going to get ruined with them around. I told him that this wasn't a trivial annoyance for me, this was actually making me unhappy and I need him to do something about it. He said he'll handle it. Well, first he told me that knowing his parents, especially his mom, she is going to feel slighted by us. We're going to be living a 3-hour flight away from them, so it's not like we're going to see them too often, but he said he just wanted me to know that was going to happen. I said I'm fine with that, probably could have been more tactful, but he found it amusing. He said he'll handle it, so I waited. Last night he told me his parents were canceling their plan. I asked him how it went, he said it went fine, they said it would be 2 separate plans, but he told them their plan was becoming a problem, and asked them to change their plan, it would mean a lot to him. So they did. They hadn't booked tickets yet, but they're looking into either getting a refund on their hotel reservations or my fiancé suggested delaying it to some time later in the future. I told him I was sorry that he'd been put in this position, but I was so happy about it. I started tearing up too, this had just been bearing on me so heavily, and I was so glad it was back to the way I have it in my mind. Also, I know the stress of wedding and work has been bearing on him too, and I didn't like adding this extra stress onto him either. He said it was a very short and simple convo with his parents. I thought there'd be a big argument because they hadn't been swayed previously. My parents were also really happy for me. My dad thinks it wouldn't hurt to call my MIL and just apologize for what happened, not in a "I'm sorry I did this" way, but more of a "I'm sorry this happened" way. My mom thinks there's no need. My fiancé thinks it's up to me. I'm really glad I came here and found out I wasn't overreacting, or I wouldn't have had the confidence to ask for my honeymoon back. Thank you. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Absolutely do not apologize to your MIL. Why on earth does your father think you need to? I also think it sounds a bit too easy how they gave up, so I would expect to see them pop up anyway. I would definitely think about rebooking as much as you don't want to. If they win this round, it will be ongoing forever. Reply, he didn't say I needed to, but he just said it'll just be good manners to smooth it over. These past few days I was so angry at his parents, I would have straight up said no to my dad, but they have relented now, so I just said I'll see. My mom is adamantly opposed to it though. If I see them there despite them saying they're canceling, I promise that will be the last time they will ever see me. Update 2, there won't be any apologies. His parents had asked for pictures from us during our honeymoon, I'm not sending shit. His mom complained about me to my mom, that I'm not making an effort to become a part of the family, how hostile I was, and how I didn't understand the importance of relationships. My mom stood up for me, and said I have no duty to anyone except my soon-to-be husband. I take back whatever I might have said about me generally liking my soon-to-be MIL, I'm done. They've cancelled their vacation, that's what I wanted, I'm going to smile for the family pictures at the wedding, and once we fly out I'm done with her. Stories number 7. My 23M, FWB, 19F, is being weirdly clingy and acting like she's my girlfriend and stuff. I'm confused. I've been seeing this girl for about a year and we both agreed that we didn't want to be exclusive or date, we both agreed this would be FWB and purely sexual as well as being friends, absolutely no romance. Friends that fuck sometimes, that's all. And now she's acting weirdly clingy, it's not annoying or anything, I don't really mind, it's just weird, so we're going to Timmy's for a coffee, Tim Hortons Canada, and we see some of my friends, so obviously I stop to talk to them and I'm like, hey, you guys want to come get Timmy's with us? They're like, yeah, okay, sure, so we all go to Timmy's and then we decided to go drink it in a local park. My FWB, we'll call her Ember, was being extremely clingy, sitting obnoxiously close to me and always clinging to my arm and stuff while we were walking, not like I really minded but still, weird. Another time we're at my house, I'm smoking a blunt, I'm doing this thing where you blow a smoke bubble. We live in Canada so weed's legal for 19 plus, so I'm trying to teach her and her other friends with us and decides to film it because NGL her trying and failing at blowing one properly and then her reaction to finally successfully blowing a smoke bubble was by far the cutest shit I've ever seen. So her friend posts it and Ember posts it on her social medias too. You know what the caption is? Stoner guys are bae. So at first I laughed at it thinking it was cute, but then I was like, hold up, that's a lot of heart emojis, am I missing something or is it noting? Also I know I'm saved in her phone as babe. So now I'm starting to be like, hold up, something's up here. Also her lock screen on her phone is a photo of us together. It's a photo of us just chilling on my bed together. Sounds awfully couple-like to me. I feel pretty confused though, and yeah, maybe I'm just overreacting, maybe not, I don't care. Also she like impulsively feels the need to check in with me 24/7 and tell me where she's at. I don't care why, but whenever she goes anywhere she wants to check in, not just like as a safety thing if she's going to a bar or something, I mean like 24/7 even when I'm busy. She also always wants me to stay over 24/7 because all her classes for college are online this year and her dad is constantly busy, so like 24/7 she wants to hang out at her place or mine and spend the night even if we aren't going to fuck. Also she gets all pissy and jealous when I talk to other chicks. I'm confused and now I think she likes me, but I don't care, I need advice on what to do. I don't really want to call things off, but I'm like super confused here, it's weird AF. Relevant comments. There's nothing confusing about this. She has developed feelings for the guy she is having sex with and hanging out with regularly. You guys may have set boundaries early, but there's enough evidence that her feelings have grown past that, and it will continue this way until you tell her otherwise. Reply. I've told her otherwise, many times. That I'm not going to do all that commitment bullshit anytime soon and that this is just a FWB thing. Trust me, it's been very clear. Commenter 2. Dude, talk to her and set some boundaries. She's fallen for you. Reply. We already had boundaries, it didn't work very well, clearly man facepalming, the boundaries were dead in like 2 weeks. Commenter 3. Well, it's time to break up or ask her out if you want to be her boyfriend. Reply. But she's literally the cutest and the sweetest, so obviously breaking up would be dumb. Update. We're dating. I officially stopped being an idiot and now we're dating and I couldn't be happier about that. Basically we went to a bar, 19-year-olds can legally drink here, and we got kinda split up, so I'm sitting at the bar, she's by the pool table, she's talking to some guy, I'm thinking like, who the actual fuck is that? We went with other friends too, so my friend smacks the back of my head and he's like, you can't get jealous if you're not trying to date her. I'm like, I'm not jealous, which was bullshit, I was jealous. But then I was like, why the fuck am I jealous of some random guy at a bar talking to a chick I'm not even with? So for the next 2 or 3 days I'm contemplating all my life decisions. She comes over, we have sex, she's getting up to get dressed, I'm like, can you stay though? Usually she asks to stay, I asked her to stay, she's like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I don't care, I want you to stay, I was thinking we could get breakfast in the morning. She goes, okay, so should I call our friends? I'm like, no, I mean just us, like alone. Mind you, at this point I've realized being pissy about a dude from a bar is going to get me nowhere in life, so during breakfast the best morning I asked her to be my girl. Here's the first post. This year don't wait for what you want to just happen, actually make an effort. Turns out all the people in the comments telling me it seems like I like her were right, so good on y'all. We've been dating 2 weeks, I've never been so happy, it's fucking lit. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Careful, I have a similar story with myself and my so. It's been 8 years now and we're engaged to be married. Haha. Reply. You two are adorable. It's great to see a happy update for once about FWBs who catch feelings. Commenter 2. I had a FWB a few years ago and caught feelings. I could tell he didn't feel the same way, but I liked him too much to end it, so I just pretended like nothing had changed. After a few months I started to notice him acting different, wanting to hang out alone more often in a non-sexual context. I finally decided I needed to ask him out and find out one way or another. We've been together for 3 years now. I thank my lucky stars every day that it worked out so well. For a while there I really thought I was destined for heartbreak. Stories number 8. AITA for not letting my husband attend his sister's wedding. My husband, 31M, and myself, 28F, are expecting our first child this May, 2025. We found out very early in September, 2024. We did not keep this a secret from anyone and in fact, shared the news in person with his family and my family on the day we found out. During this period, his sister, 29F, was getting to know someone and getting engaged in October 2024. It's sort of an arranged marriage as she was set up and decided to get engaged only after 3 months of speaking to the guy. Her parents, my in-laws, were happy that she liked him and wanted to quickly move forward. She's been wanting to get married for the past 5 years. After the engagement party in October, there was a brief discussion of when the wedding would be. His sister had mentioned that she wanted to be married by no later than April 2025. After our initial OB visit in September, my husband had mentioned to his parents that I would not be able to travel after 34 weeks as per the doctor. His mother decided to ignore this information and not address it. His sister and mother decided to plan on having the wedding in April 2025 even though they had not booked anything. His sister's fiancé lives in Texas, a 3.5 hours flight away. I briefly mentioned that I would not be able to attend in April as it would be too close to my due date but wished them all the best in their planning. February 2025 rolls around and they decided to have the wedding this upcoming April 19th of 2025 in Texas. I tell my husband that because I will be almost 37 weeks pregnant, that we would definitely not be able to go. A month prior, during a huge fight we had, his mom had told him it's okay if I don't go but that he would have to attend. At the time, I was not opposed to it, as I thought it would be fine. 2 weeks ago, we met with my OB, and I decided to ask her for advice while he was also in the room. I ask her for confirmation that it's not a problem if he were to travel during my 37th week. She looks at both of us and says, absolutely not. We both stare at her shocked and she continues and says, this would be like rolling a dice, I would not recommend it. If something were to happen, I would not be able to slow anything down. He unenthusiastically agrees and says it's messed up that they picked a date knowing we most likely would not be able to attend. It's now almost April, and he just told his mother that we will both for sure not be able to attend. My husband and in-laws have a huge fight and he explains the situation so his dad threatens that he wouldn't attend either if he's not at the wedding. I don't budge after he tells me this and calmly state that he simply cannot attend 2 weeks before my due date as we're both having this baby together. So, AITA for not letting him attend his sister's wedding. Stories number 9. AITA for telling my girlfriend to suck it up around my clown figurines. Me, 26M, and my girlfriend, 24F, have been dating for 2 years. Since we started dating she's known that I love clowns. I have several porcelain clowns displayed around my house on walls, hung from the ceiling on little swings, and on shelves. I adore these weird little creatures. Well, last week I bought 2 Venetian masks from the thrift store and they're in great condition. I got them for a decent price too. She hates them. She said they're creepy and give her bad vibes, whatever that means. I told her that I would take down the masks when she's staying the night, but I'm not getting rid of them. She told me that was fine. Yesterday she got up and told me that we needed to talk. She told me that she's sick of seeing my weird decorations and clown toys everywhere. That they're ugly and creep her out. I asked her where this was all coming from because she has never mentioned my clowns before and she said me bringing those ugly fucking masks into our home was her last straw and my obsession with clowns was charming before, but now it's just disturbing. I told her that I would take down the masks when she was over. But, 1. This isn't our home. It's my apartment. And 2. She's known about the clowns for years. And to try to stop me from decorating my place how I please is controlling. She told me either get rid of some of them or we're done. I told her to just suck it up while she's here. And if she can't then I'll come to her place every week. She didn't like that answer and called me a child before leaving. I texted her to apologize for telling her to suck it up about the clowns. But she hasn't responded to me, so. Am I the asshole for telling her to suck it up about my clown figurines? Sum of comments. Top comment. As someone who isn't into clowns but loves Venetian masks, I can understand being creeped out by some of them. However, her turning this on your entire interest for clowns that you've had your whole relationship makes her TA. Also, if she's giving you ultimatums over how you decorate your own space based on your own interests, she's not the one. There will be someone who will appreciate your collection, if not add to it themselves. Reply, that's the crazy thing. She has bought me little clowns before. She found a print of 2 clowns kissing at an art fest she went to and she picked it up for me. Commenter, you two don't sound compatible. Reply, I really don't want that to be the case. This is a new problem. She's never been weirded out by my collection until now. Commenter, I just really need to know more about this collection and how extensive it is. Like how many figures are we talking about? Is it just figurines and wall decor like the masks, or is there other themed stuff going on? Nothing to do with who's TA or anything, just deeply curious. Reply, I have a hutch full of clown things like old noses, horns, dolls, etc. I have the artwork she got me on the wall. I have 2 swinging clowns in the corner of the living room, they're around 1 foot tall and they swing from the ceiling, and a bunch of magnets. I do have a few clown-themed things throughout like my cookie jar. Commenter, I have trouble believing this one is real. No one who is into clowns can be this naive about how weird they are. Reply, I know that it's a weird hobby. I was more caught off guard by her telling me to get rid of some of them after 2 years of us being together. Update: I wanted to clear up some things I saw in the comments. I had a small collection started by my grandparents when I was a baby. That's where I got my first swing jester. The collection has grown in the last 2 years to expand to commons decor and not just dolls. For the update, she saw the post. Editor's note: this was one of the top posts on AITA that day. She read the comments. And called me today. She wasn't too happy about being called the asshole, but she apologized for being controlling. Turns out she wanted to see if I'd get rid of my collection if it meant keeping her. Like it was some relationship test. Note: she did really hate the Venetian masks and didn't like that they are hanging above my bed. I told her that if it came down between her needing me to get rid of them, sell them for expenses, then I would of course do that. But I'm not just going to get rid of my collection because someone says so. She asked if we could move on from this and I told her no. I don't like that she tried to test my love by asking me to get rid of my collection. She left. We're officially broken up now. On the bright side, I can fill my house with more clown dolls. I even found a music box one online that I might get. Thank you everyone for helping me figure out that I wasn't in the wrong. And to those saying I'm a serial killer for owning clowns, I've read quite a few comments from people collecting dead things, so I think I'm in the clear on that. Stories number 10. AITA for telling my mom I won't take care of her when she's old after she abandoned me as a kid. AITA for telling my mom I won't take care of her when she's old after she abandoned me as a kid. I 29F was raised by my dad after my mom walked out on us when I was 6. She left to find herself and started a new family with another man. She barely kept in touch. No birthdays, no holidays, not even a call when I graduated college. For most of my life, I accepted that she didn't want to be my mom and I moved on. Fast forward to a few months ago, out of nowhere, she reached out. At first, I thought maybe she wanted to reconnect and apologize for the past, but no. She told me she was struggling financially, her health wasn't great and she needed someone to step up and take care of her. Apparently, her husband left and her other kids weren't in a position to help. I told her flat out no. I wasn't going to play caretaker for someone who abandoned me when I needed her. I reminded her that she made her choice years ago and I don't owe her anything. She got mad and started crying, saying, "But I'm still your mother. You can't just throw me away like I'm nothing. I don't feel guilty." She made her bed and now she has to lie in it. But part of me wonders if I really am being too harsh. AITA for refusing to take care of the one who abandoned me even she is my mother and we share the same blood. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why are you even talking to her if she abandoned you as a kid? Reply. I really thought she would reconcile with me but it seems you just contacted me because she needed something. NTA you don't owe her anything. She made her bed time to sleep in it. Reply. Update. It's been a day since I posted here and I'm very thankful to all of you who shared their thoughts on it. I just want to share what happened in the past 24 hours. She was still blowing up my phone with guilt trips, telling me I was heartless and that she did the best she could. When I didn't respond, she turned to extended family. Suddenly, I was getting messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me I was a disgrace and that family is family, no matter what. One aunt even said, "You'll regret this when she's gone." But the real kicker, I found out from my dad that she's been telling people that she was forced to leave when I was a kid, painting herself as the victim in all this. She claimed my dad turned me against her and that she always wanted to be in my life, but I never let her. That was the moment I knew I made the right decision. I sent her one final message. You abandoned me. You don't get to come back now and demand my love and care like nothing happened. I owe you nothing. Then I blocked her. I don't feel bad, if anything, I feel lighter. I feel free. I feel happy. Stories number 11. AIO because of what I caught my wife doing on hidden cam. I asked her what she was doing and she said just chilling, watching TV because she couldn't sleep. She's on diet pills and they keep her awake. I go back to bed. Few days later, I am messing with the cameras again and realize that night she was in there, the camera was recording her. What I seen, I honestly believe has given me PTSD. At 3 in the morning she is taking her tits out and taking pictures. You can tell by her facial expressions and at times can see her phone and it look like a message app. As she sits there watching TV, you can tell she keeps checking her phone and texting. The recording is close up. Close enough to see her phone screen. 45 minutes later, it shows her and her phone as she gets under the blankets and masturbates. I end up confronting her and taking her phone to try and see if I can find out what she is doing. She absolutely loses it. Trashes my cameras. Grabs the garage door outside and literally rips it off the hinges. She starts hitting the garage door with piece of pipe and I ended up giving her phone back before the neighbors called the cops. Every time I bring it up, she refuses to talk about. Fights have been started over me asking what my mind is up to calm. At one point, she said she took them for me. But thing is, she never sent them to me. I have begged her before to send me pics. This isn't the first time I caught her taking nudes of herself. I walked in on her in the bedroom once. But nothing like this. While she is taking pics, she's constantly looking over her shoulder for me to walk in. The video eventually shows where I do walk in and she hides her phone quickly. Flash forward a year later and we have filed for divorce because I can't let this go and she refuses to talk with me about it. These gut feeling will not go away. I feel like I'm broken in 1,000 pieces from this. The look in her eyes, the smile on her face. I can tell what she is doing and it's burned in my brain. She has told me I was lying and going crazy. I do feel crazy. But because of how she reacted. Am I overreacting and throwing away my marriage because of a gut feeling? Stories number 12. AITA for apologizing to my mom on behalf of my wife so we could have a smooth family day meetup. My wife and I have been married for a year and a half and we have a 7-month-old toddler. We've both gotten along with our respective in-laws really well and have never really had any issues. Last week my wife and my mom had gotten into a verbal spat regarding not sending photos of our son to her. Apparently my MIL had forwarded some photos of a while back, and my mom was bothered that she hadn't received them. I wasn't there when the call happened, and heard two very different sides of the story. According to my wife, my mom had said that it's her right as a grandmother to be kept in the loop and my wife's duty to do so. According to my mom, she said she just would like to be included and would also like to be sent photos if possible. We had a family day weekend, got cut short due to the weather, hangout planned with my sister and her family. My sister took my mom's side, we talked and it was clear she thought my wife was in the wrong. On Wednesday I was talking to my mom, the whole argument got rehashed and it just slipped out from my mouth that my wife was really sorry about what was said. I then pressed my mom to bury the hatchet too. My sister learned about it and was cool with it too. Our get-together at my sister's went well, and everyone was cordial. When we got back my wife said she was pleasantly surprised at how welcoming my sister was, all things considered. She then asked me if I had said anything. I said I'd pressed everyone to get over it. She asked if I'd apologized on her behalf, I said yes, that it slipped out, but I ran with it. She got extremely angry, said she regrets going, and now wants me to either make it clear that she's not sorry, or she won't be meeting my mom or sister anymore. I think now that everyone has gotten over it, what good could that do? I do get her POV that she feels I shouldn't have spoken on her behalf, but I just thought this was I'm the one who actually ended up apologizing and everyone got past it. AITA. Top comments. Comment 1. Info: why is it up to your wife to send your mother photos and updates on your child? If you now know that your mother wants this, why haven't you been doing it? I know that it would be easy for your wife to do it at the same time, but why is it your wife's responsibility and not yours? Replies. I'll be taking the charge in sending my mom photos of him hereon. I just don't take photos of these things and my wife is great about recording everything digitally, so whenever she'd take a picture of him I'd ask her to send it to my mom too and she'd be perfectly happy with doing that. I don't know what happened and why, but I'll just start becoming better at this myself. Comment 2. I mean, that solves the easiest of the problems, but what about the rest? Because as it stands, your wife won't be coming with you to any more family days. YTA. You're very obviously used to placating your mother, which leads me to believe your wife's version of events is what really happened. You know you're supposed to be on your wife's team now, right? If you can't stand up to your mother on your wife's behalf, your marriage won't survive long term. Replies. It's not about placating my mother. She lives far away, we see her only a few times a year. I'd just like those few occasions to go smoothly. If we were seeing her regularly then I'd be all for hashing out the issue. My wife has been my partner for over 3 years. She's the person I am closest to. This morning I told her I had just wanted to get this issue done with so that the few times we see my family can be happy occasions. And I can ask her to do me a favor to this end because she's my wife, but I can't ask my mom that. She said my apology humiliated her, but the way I see it, she came out the bigger person, but it was wrong of me to apologize on her behalf and I again apologized to her for that. She insists she was in the right and wants to let my mom know that, and I agree she is, but I asked her to just let this slide and be the more reasonable one. We've dropped the subject for now. Update: I ended up talking to my mom about it. I had thought that with a bit of time my wife would come around to the fact that it was best to just move past it, but it didn't. My mom asked me how my wife was doing and I told her she was still pissed about the whole thing. My mom was surprised since she thought we had all agreed to move on, but I confessed that I had lied because no one else was willing to take the initiative. I also told her that my wife is her Diel, not daughter, she can't have any expectations from her, as her son I'll be the one sending pictures from now on. She apologized for what I had had to put up with and the position I was in. After I had spoken with my mom, I let my wife know that I confessed. She said she was sorry that I had to do this, and has been very kind to me. I wish that either her or my mother had been adults and chosen to be the bigger person about this. Knowing both, my mom probably said something entitled, and my wife retorted with something incisive. My mom is set in her ways and will be unreasonable. The reason I was asking my wife wasn't because I thought she was wrong but because I thought she was the more reasonable one. Comment 3. Info. Is there a reason your wife doesn't like to send photos to your mom? Is it that your mom puts them on social media without your wife's consent? Is it that your mom has a history of disrespect for your wife? Is it that your mom wants to be seen as a great grandma without helping at all? There's missing reasons going on here. Replies. No, she had never had an issue with sending my mom photos. It is understandable she'd send more to her own mom than mine. Anyway, I'll be the one sending my mom photos from now. Stories number 13. Cat keeps attacking our feet. My husband and I adopted a cat back in the beginning of January. She is the first cat either of us have owned, but I did enough research to be comfortable in my knowledge of cat care needs. The shelter said she was a year but my vet is doubtful that she's more than 10 to 11 months so still a kitten. She is very playful and sweet. She loves to cuddle before bed with purring and biscuits. She likes to wake me up in the same way. When I get home from work, it's 20 minutes of petting and cuddles because she is so affectionate. I spend time brushing her when this happens so it's actually more like 30 to 40 minutes. She gets at least 30 to 45 minutes of worm toy, wand toy with a fuzzy worm attachment, and is often panting like a dog at the end of a play session. This is when I end things because she will absolutely keep going and is full of beans. She will randomly come and attack our feet by hunting. It's totally playful and she's not trying to hurt us but those little fangs are sharp. Saying no, or shaking her off doesn't work as she will attack the other foot instead. This behavior happens randomly throughout the day when she is playful and will be purring while she is doing this. I need to typically remove myself from the area or else she will keep going. This most often happens during her midnight zoomy sessions where she runs around the room making murloc noises. When she's doing that it's dangerous to put feet on the ground. How do I get her to stop attacking? Notable comments. Commenter 1. She's a cat, they do that. You can't make them stop. In 10 years she'll calm down. Commenter 2. Your only option here is to amputate your feet. No feet no attack. Commenter 3. When she attacks your feet, redirect with a toy. Right now you're playing the "mom likes it when I fight her feet" game, and she's winning. Commenter 4. The play sessions may be too long, even though it seems like she still has energy. She could be frustrated at that point, and frustration can cause problems on its own. She may even be ready to stop, but she's wound up enough that she can't stop. This is common in human toddlers, too, where they often act out because they are tired and frustrated, and they aren't mature enough to understand how to control their behavior. She will likely calm down as she gets older, but in the meantime, you might try cutting down the play time and maybe do 2 to 3 separate, shorter sessions. Afterwards, encourage cuddling. Get out the brush and give lots of pets to calm her down. It can also be helpful to establish a bedtime routine to help the cat understand the transition to human sleep time. We usually give our cats a few treats about an hour before we go to bed, and they get a little playtime followed by lap time in the living room. We start turning out lights in rooms we aren't using as well. By the time we go to bed, they are settled down for bed themselves. Commenter 5. I have had a few cats who love this. I wear thicker socks and play with them back. If they hunt my bare feet I gently reprimand them. They seem to learn this difference better than just not being able to hunt you at all. Update. A month ago, I made a post about my small entity attacking our feet. I now have an update after my husband tried out an interesting solution, oven mitts. My husband joked that he was going to bring home some welding gloves so we can wear them on our feet when we go into the bedroom, which was the only room she would attack in. Randomly, that same day, we found a pair of oven mitts we never used and didn't plan on doing anything with. My husband put them in the bedroom on his nightstand and when she started getting zoomy, he put them on and got on the floor. She instantly charged him and latched onto the oven mitt, bunny kicking his mitt hand into submission, purring up a storm the whole time while her ears were ready for liftoff. Turns out her favorite game is WWE and the oven mitts have helped reduce her desire to attack our feet. When we see her getting playful, we put them on and she can go to town. For something that weighs 7 pounds and is the size of a slipper, she is surprisingly strong. She is a lot less murderous towards feet as well, which has been a huge plus. She still has her moments, but for the most part the behavior has largely been curbed. Now if only we could get her to stop scaling the walls like a spider, but that's a project for another time. Comments. I have always had dogs and wrestling with a giant Rottweiler is quite fun. I never expected to be able to do it with my cat, but I am so happy that I can since it's a ton of fun to play with her and she loves it. We only wrestle with the oven mitts and not actual hands, so she doesn't seem to associate them with toys, only the mitts. She also doesn't seem to have interest in other oven mitts, so she seems to have realized that these ones are for playing and others are not. It has also reduced the undesirable behavior, which I am very happy about. The wall climbing is more like something out of The Exorcist and is quite creepy when she spins her head around and looks like a strange owl while chattering. It's quite something to wake up to in the middle of the night. I'm not sure the lack of playtime is an issue. She gets an hour per day broken up into 5 to 10 minute segments, and it's extremely active where she's running, jumping, and doing flips. I think she just likes wrestling because the attacks have reduced significantly since starting to use the oven mitt. Stories number 14. I'm so done with people calling me a simp because of the way I treat my girlfriend. I've been dating my girlfriend for 3 years now, and the number of times I've been called simp by my friends is killing me. The guys and even a few of the girls I hang out with, I'm currently in university, always tell me I act like I'm her pet and if I'm into some submissive control shit. By their definition, me getting her food, gifts or cute things I randomly come across to buy her, having frequent dates and taking care of her is apparently a simp mentality. Like, WTF does that even mean? So now I can't even treat my GF to the bare minimum. They always tell me I shouldn't be spending too much money on someone unless I'm 100% committed because I'll regret once I break up. They also mention how not man enough I am because I keep lowering my manliness doing things that caters to her like. I know my GF can get her own food with her own money, but why TF does it matter if I do it for her instead? I'm not her pet or slave or anything. I just like treating her as she's so awesome. Literally the funniest person I know and pulled me out of my lowest point. She barely asks me for anything and I don't mind even if she does. The reason I'm posting this is because I was on a date with my GF yesterday, and I was getting our food and coffee to our table since GF was on her phone, when a bunch of guys next table went, "Bro, such a simp." Mind you, I don't even know these guys. These were random guys who looked around my age and they were smirking all about it. Like, WTF, leave me alone. I hate the word simp so much. Is what I'm doing called being a simp? I thought this was normal in any relationship. Like what? Y'all don't treat your partners, and don't even get me started on the brain rot that happens on some chat rooms where there is some sigma alpha mindset like I don't even know if these people are serious or trolling. Edit: since some people are saying I'm a doormat and asking if my GF treats me the same. I should have mentioned this, but she treats me way better than I do her. I said it above, but I was at my lowest when I first met her. I had issues with my abusive dad and mentally, I was a goner, but she helped me a lot. I mean, a lot. I won't go into the specifics of it because I'll have to reveal personal details, but at the time she wasn't even GF. She also happens to be my closest support system, which I'm grateful to have, and yes, she does buy me stuff, but I'm not a very give and take person. I like giving more than being gifted, and this is not just a GF thing, so I have told her I don't mind even if she didn't, but she gets me clothes. It's very common at my place to split between meals or only pay for your own in a relationship, but I usually pay for our meals. But she's figured out this thing where you can pay for meals in advance or orders delivery food before I can. Our timetable for classes are different this year and she gets to do it first as her classes end earlier. On times we don't buy, she cooks for me those lunch boxes or some cute looking snacks. She's actually good at it, unlike me, and during the 3 years we've dated, which is close to a 4 this September, she haven't really asked me to get her anything. She had said before she doesn't like spending money on herself and would rather on someone, so naturally, I feel inclined to buy her stuff. Buying her stuff is nothing because it's my way of offering some thank you here and some love you there. I don't consider it a big deal, and to be really honest, she's very sweet and thoughtful. It's hard to pinpoint since it's a daily occurrence at this point, and I wish I could do half of the things she does sometimes. Stories number 15. AITA 4, terrorizing my brother, making him live in his own filth. My brothers are all pigs. We had a very traditional house where girls cleaned and washed dishes from the time we were old enough to walk and stand on chairs, and my brothers never did anything, and as adults cannot even turn a washer on. I very much resenting how I felt like I had to raise my own father and how holidays and weekends were always spent with my brothers and dads laying around and us cleaning. Even Christmas they got to play with their toys and we went in the kitchen. I do not care about excuses like, I was never taught. We are all adults now and they can YouTube and Google whatever they do not know. I learned how to patch walls, change tiers, change oil, etc. All the gendered stuff I was never taught, so I do not see why he can't as well. My brother got put out by his girlfriend after they just had their first kid because he does not help with anything. Since staying with me I have forced him to do stuff. When he first moved in, my house went from my tidy, clean utopia to a disgusting mess. He would spit sunflower seeds on the flood, hide his food and dirty dishes around the house, spit chewed gum behind the coffee machine feet from the trash can, hide snack food everywhere, smoke on the toilet and put cigs out on my floor, which is a slap in the face as I asked him to not even smoke inside because I do not smoke. Leave his dirty clothes everywhere, even on the living room floor, etc. Even when he ordered food for himself, he would eat at the table then leave it for me to put away for him. Anytime he took anything out of the fridge he would leave it on the table and would often leave the fridge open. I am not joking, I found maggots 3 times from his mess. I lost it and told him to change his behavior totally or get out. Well, he started doing stuff but as badly as he could. He would put bowls in the dishwasher so they would be filled with nasty water, mop with the same water for days on end leaving it smelling of rot, do his laundry by putting it in the washer and leaving it for me to finish, put food away by throwing it all over the fridge, spilling food everywhere. The best was when he put the syrup away upside down on the top shelf with no lid on, coating my entire fridge in syrup that took hours to clean, etc. Then he would say, "I am trying, you are just being a bntch." I lost my temper, and I know I couldn't leave him on the street, so I divided the house. The cabinet doors all have locks from the previous owners, so I got him from dishes from Goodwill and forbade him from using any of my dishes, so he is eating off his filthy dishes. I made it very clear that anything left on the floors, clothing, etc., gets a 1-day grace period, then it will be thrown away. Same with the few dishes he has, as he would leave them in the sink until they started to grow mold. I started locking my bathroom door and he has to use the one in the basement, which I refuse to clean. If his clothes are in the washer for more than 8 hours and I need to use it, I dump them wet on his bed. Any trash he leaves laying around goes on his bed. If he orders food and gets up and leaves his leftovers, I leave them to rot, then they get thrown away, though twice the idiot has left food out overnight and came out and started angry eating it whilst glaring at me. Both times the idiot got food sickness. He destroyed my fridge again, putting juice in upside down with the lid barely on, once again destroying my food, so I mopped it up with towels and dumped the towels and all my ruined food on his bed, then put a lock on the fridge. He hates me and says I am terrorizing him. I say I was forced to mother him as a child but was never given the parental control to actually teach him how life works. And since my brothers used my childhood to treat me like a maid, I will no longer parent them. My view is, some lessons have to be learned painfully. I will not gentle parent a grown man who cannot close a fridge door. AITA. Stories number 16. AITA for breaking up with my GF after she gave away my dog and lied about it. I, 29M, had a German Shepherd named Max. He wasn't just a dog, he was my best friend. I've had him for 10 years, since he was a puppy. He's been with me through everything. My girlfriend, 23F, however, always complained about him. She said he was too big, too much work, and that she hated how much attention I gave him. I thought she was just being dramatic, until I came home one day and my dog was gone. I fucking freaked out. I searched the entire house, the neighborhood, called shelters, nothing. Then my girlfriend comes home, acting all sad, and says, "I didn't want to tell you like this, but Max ran away." I was devastated. I spent days putting up posters, calling vet clinics, driving around looking for him. My GF kept saying things like, "Maybe it's for the best," and "maybe now we can focus on just us." I should have known right then something was off. Then, a few days later, I was scrolling through Facebook, and saw my dog listed for adoption. She can't be serious, this is a joke, I told myself. Wrong, 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 she didn't even try to hide it well. The post said, "Looking to rehome a wonderful German Shepherd, great with families." And the kicker? She included a photo of me playing with Max in our backyard. I was livid. I contacted the person who made the post, and it turned out she gave Max away to some family without even telling me. I drove straight to their house, explained the situation, and thankfully, they were decent people and gave him back. When I got home, I confronted her. She tried to gaslight me, saying, "I was just thinking about what was best for us. You love that dog more than me." I have the ick and she genuinely seems to think this is okay. Honestly, I spent hours writing this and I'm physically scared of her. I told her to get the hell out of my house. Now she's playing the victim, telling our mutual friends I was emotionally neglectful and chose a dog over our relationship. A few people are actually agreeing with her, saying I should have compromised. Am I losing my mind here? AITA for kicking her out over this? Stories number 17. If I break up with my fiancé after he said he won't take care of me and our 3-month-old son while admitted at the hospital, our 3-month-old is admitted for pneumonia. He got it while visiting my family, and the reason why we were forced to visit is because I need help taking care of our son. We've been staying at fiancé's home with his family since I gave birth, and while his mom helps, she's been out of town recently. The rest of his family does a little bit from time to time, but it's never really anything significant. He has a full-time job, so he can only truly help out on the weekends. I haven't been sleeping well for a while because I'm exclusively breastfeeding, and a few days ago I really felt like my body couldn't handle the exhaustion anymore, so I asked my parents if we could stay over for a while. My parents are very hands-on grandparents. When the baby's not feeding, they take him so I can rest. Unfortunately, one of them caught the flu and passed it on to my baby. And now he is admitted for pneumonia. My fiancé didn't want him admitted. He wanted to bring him home and just give him meds orally, but I persisted because the pedia strongly advised the need for 4 antibiotics. Once at the hospital, things got worse because they had to try multiple times to get an 4-line on him and kept failing. Fiancé kept telling me it's my fault for bringing him over to my parents and for agreeing to get him admitted. He was so distraught. I saw him crying while holding our baby. It's the first time I've ever seen him cry. Pedia says our baby might stay for a minimum of 3 days just until he gets the antibiotics and clears the infection. We might have to bring him home with the 4-line and give the antibiotics at home. The problem is, if his 4-line gets blocked or gets out of vein, we'll have to have it reinserted. I was supposed to finish my maternity leave this week but decided to extend my unpaid leave for 1 week. I have asked him to take a leave as well, as he has plenty of leaves left, and also he has a 5-day mandatory leave he needs to fulfill. But now he says he won't do it. He'll go to work and I should ask my family for help while our son's in the hospital since it's their fault he's here. When he said it, I was so dumbfounded he would even consider saying these things. I just replied with, okay, and haven't spoken with him since. He's still in the hospital with us now but says he won't be staying tomorrow. When I ask him for simple things like, please pass me the water, or elevate the head of the bed, things I can't do since I'm holding the baby, he does them begrudgingly. I'm so heartbroken by this. At a time when we should be supporting each other, he chooses to antagonize me in every step and decides to leave me hanging. I'm devastated that on top of worrying for our baby's health, and being the primary caregiver, he springs all of this on me. I can't help but think that this isn't how it's supposed to be, and I don't want a future like this. I know there will be many more difficult things we will have to go through in the future, and it's scary to think he'll act this way when those times come. I'm debating telling him that if he doesn't take care of us during this time, he should consider the engagement off and my son and I will move out and stay with my family once he gets discharged. A huge part of me wants him to come around and for us to fix things. I haven't told my family this yet because it would feel like the final nail in the coffin for our relationship if they know he's acting this way. Stories number 18. AITA for telling my dad's wife I will never consider naming my child after her recently deceased mother. I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant with a girl. My husband and I have already chosen her name, as well as 2 backups in case it doesn't suit her. My dad's wife lost her mother a little under a year ago. They were extremely close and her passing was unexpected, so she's not coping well. My husband and I are trying to be as helpful and accommodating as possible, but we don't live in the same country as them anymore, so there isn't much we can do. Back in February, my dad and his wife came to visit us for 10 days to celebrate our son's birthday. This was our first time seeing them after her mother's passing, and their first time seeing me pregnant. Early during the trip, we had dinner together. We all started talking about my pregnancy and the baby, and when my dad asked if we had any names in mind, his wife stopped us. She asked us if we could consider naming our daughter after her mother. She said she had been wanting to ask us this since she learned we were having a girl, and it would mean a lot to her if we could honor her mother like that. I don't think I have to justify why I wouldn't do that, but in case I do, I never liked her mother or thought of either of them as family. Even if I did, my husband doesn't like the idea of using our children's names as tributes, so we wouldn't name them after any of our deceased loved ones. My husband and I were taken aback. My dad looked a little awkward, so I think he was already expecting her to bring that up. I said I was sorry, but we had already chosen the name and weren't interested in changing it. The mood died a bit, but we did manage to change the subject and enjoy the rest of the evening. My dad's wife was quieter than usual for the next few days, but she didn't bring that up again until the final night of their trip. Everyone was at our place. She pulled me aside and, once again, expressed how perfect it would be for us to keep her mother's memory alive by naming a child after her. She started talking about how much she would have loved it, and how a beautiful name such as hers shouldn't go to waste. I interrupted her and said there is zero chance we would ever consider naming our child after her mother. I told her it would never be up for discussion, and for her own sake, she needs to accept that and stop bringing it up. I was admittedly harsher than I'd intended, but I'm not sure she would have gotten the message otherwise. She barely spoke to me and my husband until she and my dad flew home the next day. My dad and I have been talking about this. He agrees with our refusal. He didn't really like his mother-in-law either, though he never admitted it, but thinks I shouldn't have turned his wife down like that. He told me she's still dealing with her mother's passing, and I should have been more sympathetic. He's insistent she wouldn't mind our daughter's name if we at least told her we'd consider honoring her mother. I don't think humoring her would have been the best call, but I am worried I was too harsh. AITA Stories number 19. Tofu by letting my girlfriend, training to be an orthopedic tech, put a cast on right leg for practice. So this isn't a huge fuck up, but like the title says, my girlfriend is training to be an orthopedic tech and a big part of that job is applying casts to injuries. She really wanted to practice her leg casts before getting them evaluated next week. I'm all for supporting her and trying to helping, so obviously I volunteered to help her out. She wanted me to leave it on over the weekend to make sure the cast would hold up. I went along with it because I knew she was stressing about it and needed someone. She put me in a short leg cast this morning, from right below my toes to right below my knee. Now I've never had a cast before, but in my opinion it's a well-made cast. It's nice and padded while still keeping my foot and ankle immobilized but my toes free. It's really difficult to walk in and try to limp, so she fitted me for crutches and taught me how to use them. Here's the fuck up, it completely slipped my mind which ankle was getting casted and I gave her my right leg, the leg that I drive with. I'm now stuck in this cast and completely unable to go anywhere without her or someone else driving me. Thankfully I'm getting the cast off on Monday, but it's still an inconvenience because I had some stuff to get done this weekend, including some gift shopping for her birthday that I can't have her there for. I posted my cast in another subreddit if anyone wants to see it. It's a well done cast, just very unfortunate that I got the wrong leg casted. TLDR, my girlfriend is training to be an orthopedic tech and casted my right leg for practice. Now I can't drive for the weekend and I'm reliant on her or others to go anywhere. Stories number 20. AITA for telling my husband to just be a father. I had a playdate with my friend this morning with our babies and my LO napped in the car on the ride home, so I stopped for coffee to extend her nap, so napped from 9:30 to 10 a.m., and she was fed at 9:20 before I left the playdate. I get home and my husband immediately tries feeding her. I tell him she just woke up from a nap and she's probably not hungry because she just ate before it. He said he knows his baby and tries to feed her anyway. She fusses and arches her back because she's not hungry. He says it's because we have the wrong nipple size. I begin to explain to him our current routine I've been doing with her while he's at work. I'm still on maternity leave. She wakes up, she plays for around an hour and a half, then eats and goes down for a nap. He says nonsense, she's probably tired, and goes to lay her down for a nap. It's only been 45 minutes since I've been home. I tell him he knows she's not tired enough for a nap yet, she's just going to fuss. She's starting to understand that crib means sleep and fights it hard if she's not tired enough. Sure enough, she starts crying as soon as they step foot in the nursery. This is where the argument comes. He tells me I'm being controlling and not letting him be a dad. I tell him I'm just trying to help him and give him pointers because every week is different with a baby that small. He tells me I'm being a helicopter. I tell him I'm just trying to help, as he always complains that his daughter thinks he's a stranger because he's working all day. He only works 4 days a week BTW. I left to run errands and left him with the baby to bond and stuff. He starts texting me while I'm out. Tell me when to feed her and put her down. She's crying. Should I do it now or later? When's her nap time? She won't stop crying. What does she need? Actual copy and paste from my messages. I can tell this is condescending and he's doing it to be petty. I text out a long rant that I'm just trying to help him so he doesn't have a hard time with her because he gets very discouraged when she's super fussy with him, and I try to be the bigger person and emphasize that my help had come out of a place of love. And after my long heartfelt message that is way too long to copy and paste here, I get this. Is it okay to put her to bed? When's her nap time? How can I tell if she's tired? Now I'm mad at this point and tell him to stop being a jackass, and I'm not arguing with him. I get home and the baby wakes up from a nap and he comes out with her and says, "What do I do now? What does she need? Should I change her first? Should I feed her?" At this point I'm seeing red but just stay silent, and he keeps going and starts poking me. I tell him to just go be a fucking father. He won't stop telling me how controlling I am and won't let him be a dad. I'm like, dude, I was just trying to let you know what I noticed is currently working for our daughter. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Update. Thank you all for your responses. I definitely will be taking a huge step back and looking at the way I'm handling things as well. As I type this, he's up with the baby for the day and I'm still laying in bed. He's a great dad and I'm going to give him the chance to be that. Update 2. The fight took place yesterday and I forgot to change the verbiage because I wrote it out in my notes for the character count. This morning and last night he took the baby and is actively with her and playing with her while I get ready to go out for some self-care today. Last and disappointing update. I tried apologizing to him and he told me he doesn't want my apologies because he feels they're empty and that I apologize too much, but I actually mean them and just know when I'm being rude and can apologize for it a lot more. And in turn I said, you don't feel the need to apologize for the way you treated me last night, and he didn't say anything, so marriage counseling it is, I guess. Stories number 21. Neighbor has camera pointing into my yard driveway. Having a bit of a land dispute with my neighbor, where she claims a fence that the previous owner of my property built is hers. She claims she had a land survey done, but refuses to show anyone. So I still believe it's mine. Her only real claim is that her plumbing runs under it. I don't give much of a shit about the fence, so I have been pretty laid back about it and haven't made it a huge problem. Well, cut to yesterday, and she put up 5 signs saying it's her fence, to keep off it, and if we touch it, it's trespassing. She also installed 4 cameras around her house, 2 of them point directly into my yard and driveway. She had previously put a camera up, which I called bylaw about, and they told her she can't have any cameras pointing into anyone else's yard. Now she has done it again, but this one also swivels and has a light on it. I talked to the cops and they said, we will talk with her. They talked with her and surprise. It's still there. Is there anything I can legally do about this? I have had enough of her games, it's been 2 months. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, go look to see if the survey stakes are there. This will tell you where the property line is. If the stakes aren't there, get a survey done and stakes put in. If you are confident it is your fence and there are signs on it, go take them off. Cops are not going to get involved as it is a civil dispute. If she wants to do trespassing, she would need to prove to the cops it is her property. They would then warn you and leave. Call bylaw again, repeat until cameras are gone. It may take multiple tries. If she starts yelling at you or threatening you, start talking to the police about harassment. Reply, no stakes unfortunately. And the survey costs $3,000, so I have been holding off. Might take the signs off just to force her to prove that she has a land survey done at this point. Commenter 2, there's little to no expectation of privacy for a driveway or front yard. A closed-off backyard, maybe a bit more. That is all to say, this is likely just a bylaw issue for the moment and you should probably call them back. Unfortunately, I have seen almost this exact scenario play out elsewhere. Your neighbor is, in all likelihood, operating from the basis of a mental illness. If she fits the pattern for other cases I've seen, and there isn't a guarantee of that, her reaction to any and all actions you take will be to escalate. Engaging personally is unlikely to help, though you could offer to split the cost of a survey to settle the debate if you want. I doubt she will agree. Your best bet is simply to contact relevant authorities as appropriate. Don't confront her personally. Consult bylaw about appropriate placement of cameras and put your own up. Reply, I had the displeasure of speaking with her at the start of all this. Definitely mentally ill. She's extremely hostile, won't be speaking to her alone again. We'll give bylaw another call, thank you. Commenter 3, your property is quite likely to have iron survey pins, even if the white posts used to mark their location are gone. You can rent a pin detector to find them, and can use marking paint, on your side and the city side only, to mark their location. Even if you can only find the ones away from your neighbor, or even the one on the other side or a few doors down, a tape measure will then allow you to approximate the corner of your lot. Most houses will have a survey plot plan. This is a drawing that shows the location of your foundations relative to property lines. Often this is on file with the city if you don't have it, and again it can be used to measure property line locations. Update 2, neighbor has camera pointing into driveway, now she has one pointing directly into 2 bathroom windows and my bedroom. Yeah, I'm done. I went to the police and they told me she could have the cameras up and the sign pointing into our yard saying, no trespassing cunt. Also talked to the city and the fence is on my property. 3 of her cameras and lights are on my fence. Yet bylaw says, there is nothing we can do. Is the camera something I can sue over? I don't feel safe in my own home and I can no longer open my windows without her seeing directly into my bathrooms and bedroom. Bylaw is useless, the RCMP is useless. I need to escalate this. I'm pretty pissed off, and since the police aren't willing to do anything, I'm considering doing something myself. When I talked to bylaw, they told me I couldn't face a floodlight at her cameras, yet she has 3 lights facing into my yard and now 6 cameras pointed at my house. Make it make sense. Edit, I have posted another update. I blocked some of the cameras. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if the fence is indeed on your property and the cameras have been installed on the fence, can you not simply remove them and dispose of them as you see fit? Reply, RCMP told me I can't touch her property, even if it is installed on mine. Google says I can do whatever I want to them, since it's my property. But I want to be 100% certain before I take them down. The cameras on the fence also aren't the ones pointing into my bathroom and bedroom, those are in her property. Commenter 2, the best way to infuriate your neighbor is to carry on like nothing is happening. Just ignore them. They want to get a reaction from you. The best reaction you can give is no reaction. Set up your own cameras and document any hostilities towards you while you are just living a peaceful life. Reply, that was the plan until she pointed cameras in my bathroom window. Now I'm escalating. Commenter 3, she claims she had a land survey done, but refuses to show anyone. So I still believe it's mine. Her only real claim is that her plumbing runs under it. She doesn't have to show you a land survey, if she has one, and if you can't provide one either showing it's your property, police won't do anything about a he said she said situation. She had previously put a camera up, which I called bylaw about, and they told her she can't have any cameras pointing into anyone else's yard. Now she has done it again, but this one also swivels and has a light on it. So your first post said that bylaw said she can't have it pointing at your yard, but now you're saying bylaw said she's allowed? Your story is changing quite frequently that I'm not sure I believe what she's saying is accurate. Oh okay, yep, she wasn't allowed the first camera pointing just at the driveway. But the other, new, cameras pointing directly into my bathroom and bedroom are somehow allowed and, there is nothing we can do about it, RCMP. My story hasn't changed, RCMP and bylaw's answers have. Trust me, I was in the police station for over an hour trying to understand how anything they were saying made any sense. It was constant contradictions. They were somehow blaming me while also saying, yeah, we have met with her a few times for other issues, she's mentally ill and crazy. This is the same RCMP that refused to drive down a road and check on someone that crashed a week ago though. He ended up freezing to death and there is currently a lawsuit against the city due to it. They are useless. Final update. If I could post a photo I would. However, I did what the comments said and I put up a 2x4 with plywood, with 2 lights and wind chimes, to block her camera. I got 3 other neighbors that have had issues with her and we all hung out in my yard and built it. They'll be going to their place to help build one there too. She came running out, screaming, while on the phone with the RCMP. She told them I was drilling into her retaining wall, which was never brought up that it could even be hers, it's clearly in my property, and 4 officers came over within 5 minutes. She yelled at the officers the entire time while one officer came and talked to me and the guy their neighbors. They stated that they can't do anything about the sign or cameras, but that I should go to the city and take it to court, so I will be. The officer was incredibly polite and thoroughly explained what I can and can't do. So if you are in because and dealing with something similar, here is what the officers told me is allowed. You can have cameras pointing into your neighbor's yard, but any cameras pointing into windows is considered voyeurism, and you can be taken to court over it. You are allowed floodlights, and you can block cameras all you like. For the cameras on my fence, she has been told to take them down, and if she doesn't, I can go ahead and take them down, without damaging them, and place them on her doorstep. As for the damage to the fence, that is up to the court to decide. Laser pointer, or anything else that can potentially damage the cameras, are not allowed. I will be placing cameras all around my property, with some looking directly into her backyard, was given the green light by RCMP. If you have any other legal suggestions for what I should do, please comment them. 5 neighbors are starting a petition to shut down her VRBO, which she needs to afford to live there. Fuck bullies. Edit. Reposting to another sub as this one has locked the comments. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, glad to hear you stood up to her. She sounds like a lunatic, so if when you finally do get to court, any judge is going to have a fun time with her. I must have missed in your first post that she was harassing other neighbors, too. That definitely is going to help your case. Reply, she has tried to fight a few of our neighbors so far. All smaller women than her, of course. Not even an hour before she called the cops on me because I was drilling a hole into her retaining wall, she had the cops called on her for trespassing and trying to fight one of the neighbors I had over. I wish I had recorded everything when she called the cops on me, it was comical. She yelled, one of the officers that I don't have permission to drill into the wall. And then the officer told her it's my wall and I can do whatever I want to it, so she responded with, well then what if I go over and drill a hole in his house? The officer looked so done with her shit. It was like watching a 10-year-old throw a tantrum. She's mid-40s. Commenter 2, a report to the CRA about her VRBO might produce results in the long term, if she's being sloppy with her bookkeeping. IR lights will dazzle cheaper cameras without being visible, and annoying. Aim one at each camera. Commenter 3, glad the blocking worked. I also have a nosy neighbor, and I put mirror tint on my windows. I also blocked another camera with a sign. Stories number 22. My 24M, girlfriend, 24F, drinks a bottle of wine a day, what should I do? We've been living together for around 6 months, and for the entire time we've been living together she has drank a whole bottle of wine each night and also takes sleeping pills. I'd assume this has been going on longer than we've been living together, but I'm not sure. She will drink her wine, take her pills, I'm not sure what they are but they're prescribed by her doctor, and then will come to bed. When she gets to bed, she pretty much instantly falls asleep and will sleep very deeply and stay perfectly still for the entire night until after I have left for work each morning. Like she is so deeply asleep that if I talk to or touch her she doesn't even stir, and when I get ready for work I can have the main light on and take no extra care to be quiet because it just doesn't wake her. I've mentioned it gently, saying things like, "Isn't that quite a lot to drink each night?" and she just brushes it off and laughs and acts like I'm overreacting. She doesn't hide this behavior at all, but she also never talks about it. How do I approach the situation? Edit, the pills are something called Adulthood. Stories number 23. My coworker loves taking credit for other people's work. Then he got exposed. I work as a software engineer and in my team we follow the usual process of writing code, reviewing it, testing it, and deploying it. One of my coworkers, Steve, had a habit of taking credit for other people's work in front of management. He isn't a bad developer, but he loves making it seem like he was doing more than he actually was. I'm quite introverted, so I don't usually speak up in meetings unless I have to. Calling someone out directly doesn't come naturally to me, so I usually just let things slide. During a big project, I spent days fixing a complicated bug. The problem ran deep, and the fix had to work across different parts of the code. If you hadn't actually worked on it, it was pretty hard to follow. After a lot of testing, I finally got it done. At the next team meeting, before I could even say a word, Steve jumped in and started explaining my fix as if it was his. He kept saying things like, "We decided to," and "our approach was to," making it sound like he was the person behind it. I was annoyed, but I kept quiet. The next day, another bug popped up in the same area of the code. Our manager turned to Steve and said, "Since you worked on this, can you patch it?" And that's when the fun started. Steve froze. The thing is, if you didn't actually write the fix, it wasn't easy to understand how it all fit together. He had no idea where to even begin. He tried stalling and even sent me a message asking if I could explain the logic of the code real quick. I told him that I was busy at the moment and that I will catch up with him later on. I didn't. After 5 hours of struggling, he finally admitted in the team chat and wrote something like, "Actually, I didn't write this part, maybe OP can take a look." I replied, "Of course, I'll check it." 10 minutes later, I had it fixed. Our manager came over and congratulated me. We were chatting for a bit and before heading off he made a deliberate comment about how great it was having someone who actually understands what we are working on. Steve didn't say a word. Stories number 24. I quit my nanny job and I can't bring myself to tell the mom why. I feel like I can't talk to anyone about this. I can't think about it without crying. I don't know how to deal with any of it. I had a job looking after the child of a family friend. The child isn't a baby but they're still pretty young. I was originally supposed to work as their nanny until the child was old enough to go to school. My mom knows the kid's aunt, and I've babysat for the aunt before, which is how I ended up getting the job. The dad has a job that allows him to WFH, but most of the time he is stuck in his office all day, so I really only ever saw him in passing. If I spent any significant period of time with him, the mom was always there. He never gave me a reason to be afraid of him. I didn't really think anything of being alone with him in the house with the little one all day. The few times he came out of his office to handle the nap time routine or to play for a little while, we didn't really talk much. I feel like I'm over-explaining myself. I don't know. A few weeks ago the little one fell asleep in the living room just before I was going to put them down for a nap. I decided to just get them comfy on the couch and work on one of my midterms. The dad came out of his office at one point and sat down near me. It was fine at first. He was reading a book, I was typing on my computer, and even though the silence felt a little uncomfortable it wasn't really bad or anything. I don't want to be specific about what happened, but he pushed me down on the floor and I didn't do anything to stop him. I just froze. I said no a few times, but I couldn't make myself run or fight or do anything else. I just couldn't stop thinking about the fact that his child was sleeping 4 feet away from us. I thought about how scared they would probably be to wake up and see their dad hurting me like that, so I didn't say anything else. When it was over, I called the mom. I said I had a family emergency and needed to leave early. I didn't tell her the truth. I didn't say anything to the dad. I left. I feel guilty for just walking out like that. I haven't gone back. I haven't answered any of her calls. My mom is kind of mad at me for quitting in such a rude way, but I don't know how to tell her or anyone about this. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm either crying or feeling nothing and it's making me feel crazy. Every time I think about it I feel like I can't breathe. None of this feels real, but it also feels very real at the same time. I'm sorry if nothing here makes sense, I needed to just get it out and I can't make my brain work properly enough to be coherent. Edit. I saw a couple people say that there was a post a while ago from a mom wondering why her nanny quit, and I haven't seen it, but from what has been said about it I don't believe that situation is about me. I got tested a little while after it happened, but I didn't go to the hospital to get an exam or anything like that. I'm fine physically I think. Thank you all for your kindness, I didn't think anyone was going to see this. I made a throwaway because I didn't want anyone I know to find out about it. I'm sorry if this is kind of all over the place, I don't really know how to talk about anything right now. I just don't feel like myself anymore. Stories number 25. I got the last laugh today against my brother and his wife. During the 2009 housing crash, I purchased a 4-bedroom home for $350K in Newport Beach. It's now valued at $1.75 million. I let my brother and his wife move in and they pay enough rent so I make a bit of money and the mortgage is covered. I could rent it for $7,000 a month but charge them $2,500. I mostly did it for my 3 nephews. They go to a good school and live in a very good area. Plus I get to see them a lot. I do not get along with my SIL. Recently she and I got into an argument about moving in her sister and husband. I said absolutely not. I'm already subsidizing your rent and I'm not going to subsidize your families too. My brother and SIL did sign a lease with general language about needing my approval to move in another tenant. My SIL has never thanked me for letting them live there despite her being the one who benefits the most. She doesn't even have to work because of the rent that I charged. Well, my brother sided with her so I said I'm going to fuck both of you up. I changed my estate plan from leaving my brother my house if I died to mandating that the house be put up for sale and having the profits be split between my 3 nephews. My brother was pissed and asked me why I did that. I said to make sure that your wife never ever gets my house. If I die, then you get it. Then if you die then your wife gets it. Over my dead body. I'm not attached to the house. I can't live with myself if there was even a 1% chance that some ungrateful bitch gets my house like she won the lottery. So now they're uncomfortable. Their housing is not as stable as they thought but they can't afford to rent or buy a house either. Stories number 26. I used the power of electrical safety to scare a shifty manager and give a burnt-out employee a long paid break. In my line of work, I encounter many employees and deal with the managers they report to. I was at a popular grocery store, which I won't name outright, but the way they conduct their business is safe according to their name, and at one of their stores, I was repairing the countertop turbo chef oven toaster microwave units. The ones the deli staff use to heat up sandwiches and burritos. All that being said, this turbo chef oven was in an area rendering more than half of the hot case being inaccessible, so I informed the staff to have the amount of product they cook and put out, because if they got in my way, it could lead to a dangerous situation for me and for them. Now, for a quick lesson in electrical safety. These NGC turbo chef ovens use convection fans, heater elements, transformers, capacitors, and magnetrons to cook as fast as possible. This is accomplished by healthy voltage, 208 VAC for the curious, and at robust amperage of 30. For reference, 1 amp can be enough to stop a human heart. 30 amps will easily kill a person. Now on to the petty revenge. While I was working, the deli was pretty slow, so the person working the deli was trying to relax a bit. Unfortunately, that was the time that the manager showed up, and he got into manager mode and started giving the employees shit about this and that, and in a pretty rude and aggressive way. I stopped my work and interrupted the manager mid-tirade. The employee cannot do any work right now, my company's policy requires that employees stay out of our work area and wait until we say it's safe to resume work. I told her to wait until I'm done because if she came over here and anything happened, the electricity I'm handling is lethal. If she resumes her work while this is a live circuit, both of our lives would be in jeopardy and we could easily be killed in seconds. I delivered that spiel with intensity halfway between a cop and a disappointed parent, and the manager said, "Okay, just be safe," and sheepishly sulked away. The employee said thanks and went to sit behind the cold case and be on her phone, and I spent an extra hour and a half on the call, even though I didn't need to. Stories number 27. Wibta if I told my husband I wanted him to sleep in his car. I, 36F, caught my husband, 35M, cheating on me. I am currently pregnant through IVF. His swimmers don't work and I was willing to go through IVF, which is physically and emotionally traumatic for us to have a baby. I have learned his affair dated back to before I even started the process. Also the girl was 18, I asked him to leave and he did, but he was only gone for 3 weeks. Now he's back. I'm working with a divorce lawyer, but in my state these things a lot of time. Meanwhile, now that he is back I am struggling to eat or sleep. He's on night shift so he's not here on weeknights and I've found other places to sleep on nights he's off, but that also means he's here all the freaking time. He's scrambling being sweet and helpful, which he has never acted this attentive before. I know it's all manipulation to convince me not to leave him, but that boat has sailed and I've set fire to the dock before I left. So here's where I'm not sure what to do. I asked him to leave again last night and go to a friend's house. He has ostracized most of his male friends, and doesn't dare to go his female friends obviously, and he said he doesn't talk to that one male friend anymore. They had a falling out, long story, but he led me to believe they had reconciled but apparently not. He said if he leaves the house, he has nowhere to go and would have to sleep in the car. I grumbled but didn't feel like that was the right thing to do, but I'm worried over the health of my unborn child. I do have family local and could go sleep on a cot in their living room. But they have 3 big dogs and I have 2 big dogs and it would also be chaos and sleeping on a cot rather than a regular bed would suck. I'll do almost anything to get away from him but I don't know if making him sleep in his car is too much. My mother, who is a saint, said I should have told him to go sleep in his car. So, would I be the a-hole if I told him I want him to sleep in his car so I can have some peace? Edit. People have asked why he can't go to a hotel. He's been running around spending his money on dumb stuff, which I didn't know till recently, so he's barely able to pay his part of the bills and if he goes to a hotel he probably won't have enough to pay the mortgage. I know we will likely not have the house sold before the next payment is due. Stories number 28. AITA for refusing to let my neighbor's kids use my pool after they kept ignoring my rules. When I bought my house last year, one of the things I was most excited about was the pool. I take care of it, I pay for the upkeep, and now that summer's here, I've been using it almost every day. A few weeks ago, my neighbor Karen asked if her kids, 8, 10, and 12, could use my pool since they don't have one. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but I agreed as long as they followed a few simple rules: ask before coming over, have an adult present, and don't trash the pool or try to sneak in when I'm not home. At first, it was fine. The kids would swim, have fun, and leave. But then, little things started happening. I caught them in my backyard without permission. One day, I came home from work and found them swimming alone, no adults in sight. Another time, they were throwing food into the pool. I brought it up to Karen, and she just brushed it off, saying, "Oh, they just got excited." She promised it wouldn't happen again. It did. The final straw was last Saturday. I woke up early, stepped outside, and there they were in my pool again, completely unsupervised. That was it. I told them to get out and went straight to Karen's house. I told her kids were no longer allowed in my pool. She flipped out, calling me dramatic and selfish because it's just a pool, and they're just kids having fun. But I don't care. It's my property, my responsibility, and I gave them more than enough chances. If I can't trust them to respect my rules, why should I keep letting them in? Now some neighbors think I'm being harsh, but honestly, how many chances was I supposed to give? Am I really the bad guy for not wanting to deal with this anymore? AITA. Stories number 29. How can I, 32F, not feel resentful that I make significantly more money and work significantly more hours than my husband, 36M? I, 32F, have been married for almost 7 years to my husband, 36M. When we first got married I made around $60K a year. We got married and I went back to school for 3 hard and stressful years, where he provided financially for us, and now make $225K a year. He makes around $85K a year. I have a highly stressful job in healthcare and work around 45 hours per week. He is very lucky and works from home, and I would say on average works 2 hours a week. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just how his job works apparently. He is very sweet. He makes my smoothie and coffee in the morning as I have to leave pretty early for work, around 0545. He does the grocery shopping during the day, and if I ask him to clean something in the house he'll do it without complaining. The issue is I cannot help but feel resentful of the fact that not only do I make significantly more money, but also have to work over 40 hours a week when I know he is at home playing video games much of the day and only actually having to work a small part of the day, maybe just has to answer a few emails. When I get off work around 7 p.m. he won't have dinner ready unless I specifically ask him to make XYZ on the way home from work. On top of that, certain things aren't taken care of that I wish would be without me having to specifically ask for them to be taken care of. For example, we forgot about the homestead exemption this year, so we missed out on that. Since he stays home, I wish those kinds of things were taken care of without me having to remind him. I would love to be able to stay at home, especially if we were to have children in the future, but the difference is if it were turned around I would have dinner ready for him when he got home and he wouldn't have to ask me to do different things around the house during the day, they would just be done. This might be the difference between a man and a woman. I also have decision fatigue at work, so when he asks what I want for dinner, I kind of just wish he would say, hey, we're having XYZ for dinner, see you when you get here. We have talked about all of this before, but it hasn't seemed to get any better for me. I still feel resentful when I call him after a long stressful day and ask what's for dinner, and he says, well, we have salmon and beef we could make, what do you want? I do want to have children, but I also feel like I'll still have to work full-time, and make most of the decisions with them and have to do most of the child rearing. How can I not feel resentful of making more money, working significantly more hours every week with a stressful job, and then having to ask for things around the house to be done while he's at home? Please help and thanks in advance. This is a throwaway account. TLDR, I can't help but feel resentful of the fact that I make significantly more money, work significantly longer hours and have to make certain decisions in the home with my husband. I feel like if we had children, I would have to do the majority of the decision-making and child rearing. How can I not feel this way? Stories number 30. Petty revenge on toxic ex-wife. Back in 2014 I finally split with my toxic ex-wife who'd been financially abusive, isolated me from friends and family and basically gaslit me into thinking I was the problem. House sold, assets sorted, divorce finalized, job done, I move on, so does she, with a former friend who I'd always had suspicions about, never proved it though. Early 2023 I get an email from Curry's confirming my order. I hadn't ordered anything from Curry's and initially thought it was spam. Curiously I clicked the link and my ex had spent the best part of £1,000, her own money not mine, on electrical items for her kitchen, but neglected to check the number linked to the account. Can only assume mine was on there from a cooker we had ordered back in 2012. So I followed the link, looked at the order and cancelled it. I mean, it was the smallest and pettiest thing I could do, and given, as far as I know, she still works with important financial data for a major UK bank, you'd think the least she could do is check the numbers. Stories number 31. Why is my mom, 70F, telling guests to buy cheaper alternatives to the items on my 33F wedding registry? I'm trying to understand why my mom, 70F, would tell guests to buy cheaper alternatives to the items on my 33F wedding registry and then check off what I requested from my registry. I'm especially confused because she didn't do this with either of my brother's wedding registries. I don't think I put anything too outlandish on the registry. The most expensive thing is a $480 Canadian pots and pan set, but we also have $50 items on there. The average item price is $120. For example, she took offense to the Staub kitchen gadget set I had on the registry, which is a cookware set with 10 different spatula spoon tongs and is $180 Canadian. She said, they could get you a $30 different set off of Amazon. I did have a conversation with my mom and asked her not tell guests to buy cheap versions of the registry items. I also explained my reasoning for the items I had on the registry, which is that my fiancé and I have been living together for a while, so most of the things on the registry are meant to be upgraded replacements of things we already own. My fiancé and I already have a cheap spatula set that is perma-stained by tomato sauce. It'd be nice to get a set that lasts for a really long time. She just said, okay, I think she understood my reasoning and will stop. I just don't get why she would be so offended by my wedding registry having expensive items, since that seems pretty normal from the weddings I've attended. She doesn't like getting luxurious gifts. She specifically asks for rubber gloves from Dollarama in her Christmas stocking. My parents are comfortable financially, so her austere preferences are confusing to me, like they own vacation properties, and yet she uses a ripped spatula when serving in cookware with Teflon peeling off. When the almond milk tortilla recall happened last summer and 3 people died, I asked her to please throw out her almond milk and she wouldn't and said, it's probably fine, so I had to go behind her back and make Dad promise to throw it out. But she buys nice gifts for my siblings and I and her grandkids though, so this thing about the registry was unexpected. Stories number 32. Did my girlfriend's parents try to plant something in my bag? I need an outside perspective. I'm turning to Reddit because I need an outsider's perspective on something that's been really bothering me. For context, my girlfriend, F24, is getting her doctorate, and her parents financially support her while she's in school. The issue is, they use this support to control every aspect of her life, where she can live, how much time she can spend with me, F24, and even the places she's allowed to go. Over time, through a lot of reflection and conversations with me, she's realized this isn't normal and plans to fully distance herself once she secures a stable job that can help pay for her degree. We've been together for 3 years, and as time has passed, her parents have started trying to control aspects of my life as well. I grew up poor and have always financially supported myself. I used to drive a beater car that finally gave out, and for Christmas, her parents gifted me one of their cars. While I was incredibly grateful, I always felt like there were strings attached. For instance, the car isn't registered in my name, which created issues when trying to renew the registration. It also has an app that allows remote access, starting the car, tracking its location, etc. I never asked for access because I knew they were using it to keep tabs on me. I even got a text from my girlfriend's dad once, letting me know I had left the car door unlocked, confirming to me that they definitely monitor it. Recently, I applied for a job in the city where my girlfriend and her parents live. Since my girlfriend is currently abroad for her doctorate, she wasn't home when I stayed with her parents for my first round of interviews. While I was there, they kept pushing the idea of me living with them to save money to buy a house. I was polite and considered it in conversation, but I knew that wasn't something I wanted. During my visit, my girlfriend's friends invited me to go out to a few bars one night, but her mom had an issue with me being out late, so I ended up not going. Now, here's where I need perspective. I flew home that Sunday with just a carry-on bag. I didn't unpack right away, and when I finally did laundry on Tuesday, I found a rusty pocket knife in my load of clothes. I was completely confused because a pocket knife is not something I own or have seen before. I sent a picture to my girlfriend to see if it might belong to her brother and had accidentally gotten mixed up in my stuff. She said she'd never seen it before and sent it to her family group chat to ask if it was theirs. Her parents' responses were, "Mom, what? I didn't give her any laundry. And it's dirty on top of that, so I definitely wouldn't give her something dirty. LMAO. Think about it, love. That's kind of concerning because she didn't check a luggage last time she was here." She carried on. She would have been in trouble. Dad, nice. Contraband, and she flew with it. Their first reaction wasn't confusion, "I've never seen that before," it was immediately defensive and focused on how I could have gotten in trouble at the airport. I hadn't even thought about the fact that I flew with it. I was just trying to figure out where it came from. But their reaction, combined with everything else, has me spiraling. I can't shake the feeling that they might have planted it in my bag to try and get me in trouble. I am so conflicted because they are nice people and have truly helped me in so many ways. Am I overthinking this? Or is this as weird as it feels to me? I would really appreciate an outside perspective. Edit, I'm newish to Reddit, so I don't care if this is how you do updates. After reading through all of your comments on my original post, I didn't realize just how concerning this situation sounded to outsiders. It has given me a lot to think about, and I really appreciate everyone's perspective. I want to talk to my girlfriend about everything, but I'm struggling with how to bring it up. When I got back from my trip, I called her, she lives abroad, and mentioned that her parents were pushing the idea of me moving in with them so I could save money for a duplex, something I've wanted for a while. I told her that, while it could help me financially, I didn't want to do it because it could ruin the current dynamic I have with her parents. I also called to vent about how her mom essentially stopped me from going out with friends because it was too late. Her response caught me off guard. She agreed that moving in wouldn't be a good idea, but not because of her parents' control issues, because she didn't want to hear me complain about them. This was new for me to hear, especially since she constantly vents to me about how her mom micromanages her life and how her dad does nothing to stop it. That conversation made me feel like I don't know how to bring up the bigger issues. The possibility that her parents planted the knife in my bag. How I feel like the car is being used to control me. How I've slowly felt like they are trying to dictate aspects of my life just like hers. When they gifted me the car after Christmas, they told me they would keep it in their name since they had a good interest rate in payments. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was just grateful to have a car that wasn't constantly breaking down. Her mom gave me an envelope, and I was under the impression that they were the renewal stickers. The car's registration expired in 01/25. A week into January, I went to put the new sticker on and opened the envelope, only to find a denial letter because she never submitted the required inspection. When I texted her about it, she already knew it was a denial, not the renewal stickers, but didn't mention it to me beforehand. While she was somewhat helpful when I asked for info on how to get it fixed, it turned into a frustrating ordeal. Since the car isn't in my name and is registered in a different county, it took almost a month to get everything processed. I ended up figuring it out on my own and was able to change the mailing address so that stickers would come directly to me. But I still haven't received the stickers. It's been 3 weeks. After reading everyone's comments, I can't shake the feeling that this might be intentional. My temporary receipt from the DMV is only valid for 31 days, which means it expires next week. If I get pulled over with expired registration, that could cause serious problems, especially because I'm applying to work in law enforcement. I've completely dropped the idea of moving to their city and will not be continuing the interview process for that job. I also know that I need to get a new car as soon as possible. I'm going to start saving, and when my girlfriend comes to visit at the end of April, I'll ask her to drive the gifted car back. Hopefully, by then, I'll have another car lined up. Looking back, I felt weird about the car from the moment they gave it to me. I was excited and grateful, but something in my gut told me there were strings attached. Before the car, I didn't feel like I owed them anything or that they were entitled to details about my life. Now, I feel like they use it as leverage to monitor me. I know I need to talk to my girlfriend about this, but I want to approach it in a way that isn't judgmental, just honest about how I feel. We generally have good communication, but I'm worried about how she'll react, given her response to my last call. To also address the comments about timeline for when my girlfriend will be financially free from them, I think it will be a very long time. They have given her everything she's wanted and needed her whole life. She doesn't have to work. She is only in the last few months starting to realize that her parents are leveraging money to control her and is starting to want to look for jobs while going to school. Which I am very proud of her for coming to this realization, as I know it was not easy for her to do. But I honestly think it may be years before she actually stops being provided for. Does anyone have advice on how to navigate this conversation? How do I explain everything in a way that she'll understand without making her feel defensive? Also, I understand that timelines as far as age do not match. I am trying to keep this as anonymous as possible. Stories number 33. AITA for forbidding my parents of bringing my little brother, 10, and sister, 7, when coming to my 24M place. I moved out as soon as I got into college, and from that shared college apartment I moved straight into my own place. I got a nice downtown loft for myself in the same city I went to college. This is about 7 hours from my hometown, so as you can imagine, I was barely home over the last 6 years. My dad, 45, really misses me a lot. He raised me as a single parent after my bio mom abandoned me postpartum, and my stepmom, 39, has also missed me a lot and was a fantastic parent to me throughout the years. I miss them both a lot, and we never had much conflict, up until now. Our main problem is my siblings. As you can probably imagine from the timeline I described, I had little to no contact with them really, but the times I do see them, they're a nightmare. For example, this year I stayed in my parents' home from Christmas Eve to New Year's, and in that short time period they managed to break my Nintendo Switch and shatter my phone screen. Both times neither object was left unattended near them. My Switch they swiped from my room by going through my things while I was away and broke it. My phone they kicked a ball at me while I was texting, causing me to drop it, which shattered the screen. This is just the most recent example of them being like this. My place is essentially one big open space. It's a big loft, only door is to the bathroom, obviously, just one big space. And it's mostly occupied by my music gear, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of it. It's more of a I live in my studio situation than a I have a studio at home situation. I don't even own a bed, I sleep on a futon, so whenever they want to visit I just tell them no, that I'll go to them instead. I only ever host them at my place whenever my grandparents have my siblings, but this is starting to annoy them and they wanted to know why. So I told them that the reason I don't host them at my place is because I don't want my siblings in here because they will break things and I don't want to deal with that. My parents are hurt, saying that my brother and sister should be more important than money, possessions, and that I moved away from home without ever making an effort to be in the lives of my siblings, which I won't really deny. They also say my siblings are hurt from me not putting any effort into being in their lives, especially since the family talks a lot about me near them. I love my parents, but I think they're being unreasonable expecting me to allow my siblings here where they will be surrounded by thousands of dollars of sensitive gear when they have a track record of breaking things. AITA. Stories number 34. Just found out my daughter is sexually active, and now I'm trying to figure out how to handle it. I'm a single dad to my lovely daughter, Kiki, who's 16 now. She's got a boyfriend, and I trust him. He seems like a good guy. Yesterday, Kiki asked me to take her to Dollar General. When she came back, she had a bag, and I noticed the receipt she left on the car seat. It showed she bought condoms and multiple pregnancy test, and I was completely taken aback. I went to her room, and she was on the phone with her boyfriend. I usually let her have her space because I want her to feel independent as a teenager. Just trying to be a good dad here. While I was cooking, I couldn't shake the thought of my daughter doing that, so I just asked her. She said she was, and my heart just sank. I felt a mix of happiness and sadness. My little girl is growing up and taking on adult stuff. How can I help her? Or should I just let her figure it out? I don't know if it's the right move to support her or not. I've been doing this on my own for 5 years, and I still feel like I'm winging it. Update on, my daughter asked me how would I feel if she was pregnant. A lot of people asked for it, so here's what's up. I had a heart-to-heart with my daughter. I just came out and asked her, "Are you pregnant?" She laughed and then looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Dad, are you really asking me that?" I pushed a bit, saying, "Just tell me." She said no. I told her to take a pregnancy test, and it came back negative. When I asked why she was asking all those pregnancy questions, she said she was just curious about her mom's pregnancy and wanted to understand it from her perspective. I suggested enrolling her in a program for young women where older women mentors could help her out with questions about cycles, pregnancy, and all that stuff. They'd probably explain things better than I could. But she was adamant that she didn't want to talk to anyone else, she wanted her mom. She insisted that other women couldn't help her with this, and neither could I. I had no idea this was about more than just pregnancy stuff, and honestly, I don't know how to help her with it. My daughter asked me how would I feel if she was pregnant. My daughter Kiki, who's 16, came to me like it was no big deal and suddenly asked, "Dad, how would you feel if I was pregnant?" I told her I'd be a bit disappointed and mad but I'd still support her. She smiled, looked at me for a moment, then just got up and left the house. Later, she came back with bags of food, acting totally chill and like nothing happened. Now, she's been hitting me with all these pregnant-related questions, like, how would you feel if I had a baby? Would you want a grandkid? And I'm just wondering why she's asking all this. Any thoughts on how I should talk to her about it? Edit 2, I have deleted the comment of me not knowing. Bunch of people have said it was stupid etc. how I didn't know how she died. I don't know how she passed. She passed the night of our daughter's birthday. I only named things I thought and the doctor made assumptions about. I don't know the exact details or reason why or how she died. I am sorry I cannot provide you with this information but I don't know the truth to her death. I have thought plenty of times that she deleted herself from this world but then again me and her prayed and tried for our daughter. I am not sure how or why she left. I just labeled some things. Stories number 35. I am a flight attendant and I spat into pilot's coffee. Hi guys. I'm a flight attendant for a big company. I had a flight and my position was that of FA serving the cockpit. First officer from that flight and I flew 4 to 5 times already together and already once last month had a layover together. So we kinda knew each other at this point. Company's policy is when one pilot goes to use lavatory, someone else from crew must be in the cockpit with the other one. FO asked coffee from me before captain went into lav. As I was going to enter the cockpit, Cap went out and naturally I knew I should stay in the cockpit until he returns. I handled the coffee to the first officer, and I sat on the jump seat behind him. He held coffee for like 10s and then said, "Can I ask you for something?" I said of course. He gave me back the coffee and said, "Spit in it please." I was stunned for a moment and said that I cannot. Does he want to report me? That would make me lose my job if they establish that there's my saliva in the coffee. I asked why. He said, "I want to see something, I promise I won't report you," and he put coffee cup under my face and I don't know why. I was shocked and also intrigued. Why TF would he want me to spit in it? What will he see? So I did what he asked of me. All happened so quick. Then immediately I asked, "Why did you want me to spit?" Mid-sentence guy chugged entire cup of coffee with my spit in it. My jaw dropped, I didn't say a word. Captain entered, FO gave me back the cup and winked at me and thanked me for delicious coffee. I don't know WTH happened and I don't know if I should feel disturbed or intrigued and what was that all about. Stories number 36. AIO for wanting a bus driver fired for leaving my son at school intentionally. My son is 9. Yesterday, I got a call from transportation saying after school he missed the bus, but they're putting him on a different bus that will meet up with his regular one so he will be home late. I thought nothing of it until about 30 minutes later, I got a text from his friend's mom who asked me if he made it home okay because her son told her the bus driver left him at school on purpose. According to my son's friend, my kid was running to the bus and she told him to walk back to the building and try again because running isn't allowed. He did as he was told and as soon as he got back to the building, she pulled out and left. His friend asked where he was and she told him to be quiet and mind his business. I immediately called transportation back, fuming, and told them what happened. They claimed they would look into it. The bus driver called me and said it was all a misunderstanding and she would never leave a child on purpose and that she would be more mindful next time. She claims she swore she saw him get on the bus. I'm really upset and I don't actually believe her. I want to follow up with her supervisor, but not sure if that would be blowing it out of proportion. Stories number 37. Oh, you need to know why I'm disabled that badly. Okay then, I have a few disabilities that lead to me using various mobility aids depending on how I feel that day. If my knees are giving me trouble but my POTS is okay, I'll use braces and a cane or crutch. This happened on one of those days. I was just trying to pick up my medication at the pharmacy. There was a bit of a wait because I was in the process of moving pharmacies and the prescription I needed wasn't in their system yet. I was looking around the small, family-owned pharmacy when this guy asked what happened. I was tired and in pain, and really tired of people wanting to know my personal medical information. It was an accident as a kid. What kind? How old were you when it happened? Sledding accident when I was 12. Why do you still need those? You're an adult. Have you tried using coconut oil and peppermint for the cramps? I did not tell him it was cramps, and it's not. I'm also allergic to both peppermint and coconuts, so that's a little funny. Sir, I don't like sharing my medical information with strangers. This is when he scoffs, seeming to get mad at the fact I tried to have boundaries. I try to walk away at this point, but he gets in my face. Oh come on. It's not like I'm asking about your social security number. Just tell me. I kinda just shrugged. I've had a lot of people tell me that the story was gory, which is why I didn't tell people. This guy was being annoying and I just wanted to get my meds. So I just figured why not let him have the full story. So I explained in excruciating detail, keeping a chipper tone as I started in about how I was sledding on my family property located on a mountain. How when hit a tree I felt my kneecaps shattering on impact. Felt my radius in my left arm break into two and twist horribly. How the ringing in my ear worsened the pounding in my head as blood ran down my face from the gash in my skull. I went into how terrified I was because I was in the middle of the woods, having gone off course, and no one was nearby. How I was worried about freezing to death in the woods and never seeing my family again. How in desperation I tried to stand up, ignoring the feeling of the bone fragments tearing into my muscles. How the violent dizziness from the concussion kept having me fall over, which let my knees twist. How I dragged myself uphill 1/4 of a mile through the trees and snow until I saw my house. I was detailed about it, staring at him unblinking as I watched him go green once I started explaining exactly what it feels like to feel your bone fragments moving around in your knee as blood ran into my eyes. How a genetic disorder that weakened my muscle tissue let the bone's fragments move from where they belong more than it would in normal people. Hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos for those who are curious. At this point, my medication was ready and I picked it up from the pharmacist and left, leaving the guy nauseous and flabbergasted. I write for fun and my dream is to write a book about torture methods through history, so explaining gory details is easy for me. Hope it taught the guy to keep his nose out of the business of disabled people, but I doubt it. Really wonder why being disabled makes strangers feel so entitled to your medical information, but oh well. I'll just describe it all in detail. Stories number 38. Am I overreacting? My husband has become obsessed with guns. He had 3 negligent discharges in our home. He shot himself twice and last night discharged another round in our home. I want the guns out of the house. I don't feel safe in my own home. He refuses. In the last few years my husband has become obsessed with guns. He went from not owning any guns prior to 2016 to having over 40. It's quite a collection of handguns, rifles, ARs, historic war guns, that have been used in battle. He spends hours and hours every day on the computer researching guns. He wears a gun on him at all times even when mowing the yard or inside our home. All movies are war-related or gun-involved. It's continuous. I, the other hand, don't like guns, but I love my husband, so I let him do what he wants to do if it makes him happy. The problem is he has now negligently discharged a handgun in our home on 3 separate occasions. The first time he was in his study goofing around with his gun and it went off it and injured his hand. It went through his computer, the wall and into the guest bathroom. I had to take him to the hospital for his injury. The only reason it wasn't reported was because they said the wound was from the repercussion of the gun. The second time it discharged he shot himself again. Same exact scenario, except this time the bullet went through his thigh. Back to the hospital again, different hospital, they said he was very lucky that it didn't hit his femur. We had lots of police at our house. Our children were questioned along with myself. It was a big deal. Last night we had a third misfire, this time he didn't know where the bullet went. Our son was sleeping upstairs directly over my husband's office. I ran upstairs and thought my son was dead. He was so sound asleep he didn't hear me screaming his name. He was facing away from me with his phone still on, not moving. I went wild. When he finally woke up I couldn't stop shaking. I am now terrified to be in my home. I don't know what to do. I've asked him to sell his guns or at least move his safe, guns and all his ammo out of the house to his very nice climate-controlled workshop. He has refused to do either. I feel like this is a deal breaker for me. I would appreciate any advice. Update: I appreciate all of the comments, I needed to hear this. Everyone is 100% correct. I have left the house with just my shoes and my purse and will figure the rest out later. I'm having to deal with how I allowed this to happen, and want to ensure I take accountability for my part in this. I'm taking a hard look at myself and changes will be made before I return, if I return. Stories number 39. AITA for wanting to break up with my GF because I was a dare date. Advice needed. Never thought I'd have to use this old account, but I'm really stuck and need some advice before I potentially nuke what has been so far a good 8-month relationship. So for a quick background. My GF, 24F, and I, 27M, have been dating for around 8 months now. I first met her at a funeral of all places. I wasn't close to the deceased, they were a friend's uncle, I was just along to keep him company. In any case, I wasn't particularly sad looking. I was talking with a family friend and smiling, which she noticed and made a pretty morbid joke asking if I put him in the casket. It was so blunt I just sort of laughed and we got to chatting all afternoon, ending up with her number in my phone by the end of it. She was funny, witty, pretty and a genuinely fun girl to be around. So of course I took a chance and asked her out, which she accepted rather eagerly. My ego was through the roof at that, little did I know. I came home a little earlier from work last night. I was covering a shift and the bloke I was covering came in anyway, so they didn't need me for 8 hours. Anyway, I came home earlier than planned and overheard my GF laughing with someone on her phone. I was about to surprise her with a little jump scare when she said, and I quote, "I never meant for this whole thing with BF to last so long. I'd never normally date someone like him." She spotted me shortly after saying that. I admit, I made a noise I can't even begin to explain and she heard me. I'd never seen someone go that pale before. She was all wide teary eyes and quivering lips. GF then spent the next hour or so confessing that she never planned to date me, but once her friends found out she'd given me her number, they found a pic of me online and apparently found me so hilariously unattractive that GF just had to fake date me for a week to give me hope. I wish I was joking. Her friends and apparently GF are all still stuck in their mean girl high school phase. GF agreed, but I guess apparently forgot about it because we've been dating for 8 months, not 1 week. She told me that she was stupid for agreeing with it and that I was a really good bloke, and that she really did love me, but she never expected to actually feel that way about me. Why? Because I'm not her usual type of guy. When I asked her to elaborate, she mumbled that she didn't initially find me attractive at all, but after dating for a few weeks she stopped caring about my looks. I admit I sort of lost my temper here and called her an immature waste of my time. I told her I wished she'd just dumped me a week into dating because to find all this shit out 8 months in, when I cared about her, loved her, was fucking foul. I'm staying with my mom at the moment because I need space to think and vent. Would I be TA if I dumped GF for this? Edit. Wow, okay. Did not expect this much feedback, blimey. So I've turned my phone back on and it's a mess of texts, voicemails and missed calls. I've only listened to a couple, but she's absolutely sobbing her heart out and pleading for me to come home so she can explain. Nothing from her friends, mind you, just her. Says it all really. No idea what to do, but now I feel like rubbish. Update, AITA for wanting to break up with my GF because I was a dare date. So I eventually turned my phone back on after making the original post and was bombarded with voicemails and texts and whatnot. I only listened to a couple and GF was sobbing her heart out on all of them, more or less begging me to come home and let her explain. To be fair, I didn't really have much choice but to eventually go back home anyway. It's a house share and I pay rent to live there. Plus my own mom was basically nudging me back out to let GF explain herself. So I went back home the next day and she pretty much tore out of her room and threw herself at me. She was sobbing and trying to talk but kept crying too hard between her words to sound coherent. I know I should have probably been angrier, but I hate seeing her cry. And she wasn't just crying, she was sobbing so hard she was having trouble breathing at a few points. Eventually I got her to sit down and asked her to explain exactly why I should stay with a woman who not only got with me as a dare but also still laughed about it with her vapid friends 8 months on. A lot was said, and to summarize it so this update doesn't take all night, she more or less said this. Fake names for her friends, and I'm likely paraphrasing, but I've spent about 40 minutes trying to remember it exactly, so this is the gist of it. GF, I didn't mean to ask you out on a dare, I wanted to date you before they even knew about you. I gave you my number first, remember? When Stacy and Tina found out I gave you my number, they looked you up on Facebook and found it hilarious that you were even trying with me. So they got this stupid fucking dare thing and told me to do it to give all uglies in the world hope. Me, wow, real mature. You do remember what you said on the phone to whoever it was, right? That you never meant for us to last this long. You told me I wasn't your type. What's your type, GF? Not me, right? Too ugly for you. GF, stop saying that. You're not ugly. You're just not the type of bloke I'd have picked to date long term. But I was wrong, babe. Look at us, we've lasted nearly 9 months. I love you so much, I really do. How can I prove it to you? How? Me, I don't know, GF. I love you too. But all I can think about is you laughing about me behind my back to them. How can I trust you anymore? GF, I wasn't meaningfully laughing at you. I swear I wasn't. I just don't know how to handle Tina any other way. She's always been like this. And I just go along with it to keep the peace. Me, so you'd rather keep the peace than stand up for me? Is that what you're saying? GF, you're twisting my words, babe. Me, no I'm not. God, why should I stay with you, GF? Seriously, give me a reason. You laugh behind my back. You dated me on a dare given to you by Tina and Stacy, right? And you're still friends with them? You chose them and their cruelty over us and what we have. GF, we've been friends for years though. Me, I fucking give up. At this point it was just a back and forth of me trying to walk away and her professing her love and defending her friendship with the Wonder Twins while trying to make me sit back down. I don't know guys. I'm back home, she's constantly trying to have another talk. I'm tired. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Advice would be wonderful, because I'm very tempted to just pack it in. Stories number 40. My boyfriend said I look so gable while I was dying from period pain. AITA for considering breakup. I, 25F, and my BF, 30M, have been dating for 2 years now. I have pretty bad cramps every now and then. They're not that often honestly, but sometimes, they are so bad that I feel like I'm legitimately dying. When these kind of cramps arrive I'm always in bed, nauseous, throwing up, can't even move my legs cause it hurts and writhing in pain. My boyfriend had been there when I experienced this type of cramps like twice or thrice before when we started dating, but recently, like a week back, this pain resurfaced and he was there with me. I was very obviously dying and the pain makes me bawl my eyes out. My boyfriend just stayed beside me offering massages, but my body does not want any kind of touch as it hurt a lot. So I tell him no, but after some time he just look at my crying face and goes, "You look so f***able right now," coupled with, "I read somewhere that sex is good during periods and I would try it if I could." He said these and then continued to sit beside me just staring. At the time I couldn't say anything, but I haven't stopped thinking about that day. I ended up asking him why he told me something like that while I was in pain, but he said it wasn't said out of malice but curiosity. He said I looked very cute and breathable when I was crying, but I don't know, is it normal to say something like that when someone is in pain? I was feeling upset for the whole week, but he doesn't find it a big deal. I impulsively told him I wanted a breakup, but he thinks I'm being too sensitive and that couples usually do have and guys fantasize sex during the girl's period. But I had clearly told him that day that my body hates any physical touch since I feel so uncomfortable and in pain all over, and him still choosing to say that makes me so upset. I have a very icky feeling that I cannot put into words. Whipped for breaking up over something like this, or am I being too sensitive? PS throwaway because I have friends following on my main. Stories number 41. Why do you think many women look down upon others, ESP men, that enjoy gaming as a hobby? I'm 30F and have always enjoyed video games since I was a kid. There's just so many different types and genres for everyone. I feel like I always see negative comments from women about partners that game, and I have also received some judgmental comments and looks from women myself. I get not everyone has to have the same hobbies, but people don't give the same judgment for liking to read or paint. Edit. Some women commenting are proving my point. Read through most comments, the few I see from women are literally being judgmental instead of providing insight. I definitely agree with the addiction and hygiene comments. But if someone does it in moderation, should not be an issue. Edit. Why am I asking this in a Ask Men sub and not women's? Because I've experienced a lot of vitriol from other women about this topic, but not men. I've also had this discussion with women before, but not many men, so I was curious on men's experiences. Could I have worded the question better? Yes, but was on my lunch when I posted and just posted first phrasing that came to mind. Also, women do tend to comment here regardless. Stories number 42. AITA because I gave my son, almost 17, private history lessons at home. The story behind this is a bit long and complicated. I am German, my husband and the father of my children is American, and we have lived in the USA for most of our marriage. We lived in Germany for a few years, and my son also attended school in Germany for his second and third years of elementary school. Our younger children are all still in elementary school and have lived here their entire lives. My children all grew up bilingual, and we visit my family in Germany every summer. You can probably already guess what history topic this is about. I know that the period from 1933 to 1945 is often very sparsely covered in history classes outside of Germany, at least from a German perspective, a lot is simply left out. History was my major at university, and I experienced the proof of the above theory during my semester abroad in the USA, and I can see it now, too, in what my son is learning at school. I started these private lessons years ago. I base my teaching heavily on the official German curriculum. My son read the same books his cousins who go to school in Germany read. I watched German war documentaries and war films with him, e.g., Unser Vater, Unser Mutter, better known in English as Generation War, Napola, or When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. I bought German history textbooks and worked through the relevant chapters with him. I made sure that he regularly discussed them with his cousins in Germany. When we are in Germany in the summer, we have been visiting relevant museums and concentration camp memorials every year for years. Why am I doing this? Because it's important to me that he knows these things, the unvarnished truth, the complete reality. It's not about feelings of guilt or shame, but simply about knowledge. Preventing this knowledge from being lost. Ensuring that he understands the background, the causes, the social structures, the characteristics of totalitarian states, internalizes them, and comprehends them. So that he can make sensible, educated, and considered decisions as an adult. It's about teaching him to take responsibility, for himself, for society, both in the present and for the future. Learning from past mistakes must be the goal. The bottom line I hope he learns is, it's not enough to just point the finger at those who commit inhumane acts. The many who deliberately look the other way and let it happen are just as much a problem. Someone once said, Germany 1933-45 is the story of how a normal nation, full of kind, empathetic people, became a nation full of monsters and followers who let the monsters do what they wanted and, in the end, claimed they didn't know anything about it. I don't want to traumatize him, I don't want to scare him. He was never the problem, he was always very interested in it. About 3 years ago, he asked me on his own initiative if we could watch certain films. He regularly asks me personal, family-related questions. He really enjoys discussing things with his cousins and occasionally calls his grandparents. My in-laws were a bit skeptical at first because, from an American perspective, he was still very young when I started, but from a German perspective I did it at the age when he would have learned it in a German school. My in-laws now think this is absolutely fine. In our case, it's not just about the history of my homeland, my children also have German citizenship. By the way, it's also about our very personal family history. The truth is simple but gruesome, my grandparents and their siblings were the complete opposite of resistance fighters. Some, due to their age, were simply indoctrinated followers as children, enthusiastic members of the Hitler Youth, and some highly motivated to go to war at 14, 15, or 16, only returning, even if only partially. Party members, some active in the Gestapo, the SS, or the SA. One of my grandfathers worked in a concentration camp for a time. My siblings and I read our grandparents' diaries when we were 15 because my grandparents wanted their grandchildren to know the whole, unvarnished truth. Talking about it themselves was something they never managed. My son read them too, as did his cousins, all in the age of 15-16. What is the problem now? My son's school contacted me and complained that my son had disrupted class, was disrespectful, and had incited his class against the teacher. What he actually did was explain to the teacher that The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is not a historically accurate work, which the teacher claimed, swearing it was 100% based on true events and the lives of real people. The two children are fictitious. Children who arrived at Auschwitz were usually murdered immediately upon arrival. The fences were extremely secure and under high voltage, and my son had brought up such points in class and instead suggested other reading material for the class to consider. Following my son's recommendations, my son's classmates have bought themselves good books, all translated into English, and approach him almost daily with open questions. But history class is practically boycotted by the entire class. The principal had already heard my son explain why and how my son knew so much about this topic. So my conversation with the principal continued, and he said my personal concerns were all well and good, but, I quote, conveying such a war-critical perspective to a half-American at home doesn't sound very patriotic, but you know, that's your family's freedom, and you should have absolutely taught your son not to talk about it outside of his family. He then spoke of a lack of understanding for the American people and the upbringing of American children, saying that the empathetic way Germany approaches this topic simply doesn't work in the USA, and I should have taken that into account. Parents of my son's classmates also contacted me, saying their children are traumatized, but my son says they're just curious and ask questions at home that their parents simply can't answer. The parents accuse me of being a cruel mother, that so much deep knowledge would simply not be good for children, that I would have gone too far. I always knew what to look for when it came to this topic, recognized when my son needed an emotional break, and felt confident in myself when discussing this topic at home. But does my son, just because of this, is suitable to pass it on to his friends? I assume he talked about it in a similar way to how he did with his cousins, who were also prepared. The topic isn't easy. I don't regret having taught my son so extensively, and I plan to continue to do the same with my younger children. But should I ensure that this education remains within our family? Should I have made my son aware of how he can, or can't, talk about it at school? Stories number 43. AITA for reporting my ex-husband to his parole officer. I, 34F, was married to my ex-husband, 39M, for 5 years, and for most of that time, we had a happy marriage. Toward the end of our relationship, he suddenly started bringing in a lot of money, claiming it was from side jobs as a contractor. I didn't suspect a thing since he would occasionally do this before. 4 years ago he was caught by the police on multiple charges of credit card fraud. I was devastated to learn he'd been lying to me for years, and I couldn't trust him anymore. I served him divorce papers while he was in prison and moved across the country to start over. Since then, I've been trying to rebuild my life. I have a great new job that I love and have been dating my current boyfriend for 6 months. Things are going very well. He treats me right, and I'm happy. My ex was recently released early after serving only 4 years on good behavior. He's always been charming, so I'm not surprised, but the suddenness of startled me. Last week, my boyfriend and I were out to dinner when I noticed my ex walking up to our table, drink in hand. My heart sank. He claimed he just wanted to see me, but he quickly started talking about how I was happier with him and that I shouldn't be with my current boyfriend. My boyfriend remained calm, but I asked my ex to leave, and to his credit, he did. Ever since, I felt extremely violated that he showed up unannounced like that from across the country right after getting out of prison. I went back and forth all week on whether or not go to the police, and with the support of my current boyfriend I decided to. Once I told them about what happened, they said my ex would go back to jail to serve more of his sentence after violating probation. Since then, I've been getting messages from old friends and my ex's family accusing me of overreacting and ruining his life. They claim I should have just let it go. The one thing that makes me worried if they're right is that I didn't really give him a chance to explain himself. After what he did though, I don't think I owe him anything. I feel guilty about sending him back to prison, but relieved to know I don't have to talk to him again. Stories number 44. AITA for refusing to be the main caretaker for my elderly parents. My parents are both in their 80s and live about 2 hours from me. For reference, I have a sibling that lives right down the road from them. Neither of them have aged well, they always refuse to be active and have lived very sedentary lives in their retirement, so aging has been hard on them. My father especially has struggled with type 2 diabetes and dementia Alzheimer's. He is very combative and mean about everything, which is how he has always been, but dementia and old age has made it worse. He directs a lot of his anger towards me and is especially mad that I am trying to get them to move into assisted living because they fall constantly and need so much help. Anytime he disagrees with me about anything he starts screaming and calling me names including Fat A and The Thing. The Thing hurts especially hard because I am his daughter and he is reducing me to something that is hardly human. He will say, "Don't look at the thing over there, she's so ugly she might break your face," or just ridiculous stuff. He does this when he is completely lucid and remembering everything everyone. Or he will say, "Don't feed the thing," when my mom tries to offer me food. I tried so hard to ignore this treatment, but once he did it in front of my kids I put my foot down and stopped visiting. My mother now wants me to come to her 3+ times a week to help with cooking, cleaning, helping dress my father, etc. I have said no because the way he treats me is terrible and I have to look out for my own well-being. She says I just need to ignore it because he is old and grumpy. She says I take things too personally and I am obligated to help them because they raised me. AITA for saying they need either a full-time nurse or assisted living. Stories number 45. AITA for telling my cousin why no one wants to attend my aunt's 80th birthday party. A few months ago my cousin, 58F, sent out a group text message about planning a big birthday bash for my aunt who's turning 80 in July, followed by invites that were mailed. RSVP responses were slow and not encouraging. My brother, 45, totally bailed when the first text went out, so she recently started sending reminder emails including the adult children of all us cousins, which has now turned into a different mess. None of the adult children of any of my cousins are interested in attending. Many are in college, university, and all of them are scattered around the US and haven't seen our aunt, their great aunt, in years. As a result, my cousin is now promoting this as family reunion 80th birthday party. What my cousin is ignoring is that my aunt was horrible when we were growing up. She couldn't stand kids and constantly picked, yelled, and even threatened us with physical harm if we didn't behave at every family gathering. She got drunk one Christmas Eve and told my late mom that she never wanted my cousin, who's planning the event, and that's why she went into the military. After that my mom never felt comfortable around her and felt bad for my cousin because clearly her mother abandoned her. We all have nothing but bad memories of her and mostly kept our own kids away from her as we got older and started our own families. Yesterday she called to ask why me, 49, and my own adult daughters F18 and 20 haven't responded back, and if we plan on attending because the invites she sent out weren't coming back quickly enough, and I said, you're the only one who really wants to celebrate your mom's birthday with a big bash, so maybe you should lower your expectations. She got quiet on the phone and asked me to clarify if we were attending, and I said, no, we decline. I've gotten a few text messages from cousins who claim she's heartbroken that I dismissed her good intentions while my brother said she had it coming. AITA for being too honest. Stories number 46. AITA for sneaking vegetarian food into my FIL's meal. Not a throwaway but a private, because my fiancé knows my main. My fiancé, 23M, and I, 23F, plan to get married in October of this year. I'd like to start off by saying I'm not looking to end my relationship with my fiancé. I'm a vegetarian, my fiancé is not, nor are his parents. This has never been a problem for me, him, or his mother. But my father-in-law has always been weird about it. For example, whenever we all go out to eat and I order something vegetarian, he always gives me weird looks. He also always tries to convince me to eat meat, saying things like, you're really missing out, you know you want some of this, that fake meat will never be better than the real thing, etc. Yesterday, my fiancé and I invited his parents over to our house for dinner. I made spaghetti and meatballs for my fiancé and his parents, spaghetti and vegetarian meatballs for me. I put them in 2 different pots and put them both on the table. When his parents were grabbing their food, his father happens to grab the spaghetti and meatless meatballs instead of the real ones. Now here's where I might be the a-hole. After I see him put the meatless meatballs on his plate instead, I decide not to tell him. He sits down, finishes the whole plate, and even gets a second helping. Once his parents left and me and my fiancé were cleaning up, I tell him about the whole fake meat thing. My fiancé gets really mad at me and immediately calls his dad. His dad then calls me and starts berating me on the phone, saying I'm a psycho and my fiancé should leave me for trying to poison him. I try to defend myself by saying I wasn't the one that gave him the fake meat, and he grabbed himself, which is 100% true. My fiancé says I should have told him which was which, but I genuinely don't see the problem. I know he isn't allergic to soybeans or anything, so I don't see the harm in trying vegetarian food once. I think I might be the a-hole because usually my fiancé always defends me when his father and I get into arguments like this, but the fact that he isn't worries me. So Reddit, AITA, update, a bit of a quick update, but after reading your comments I've decided I'm going to apologize to my FIL, whether I was in the wrong or not. It wasn't right to not tell him what he was eating. Also, I've seen a lot of comments saying if it was the other way around I'd be screaming at him or something. Just wanna say no, I wouldn't. Sure, I'd be a little sad, but I've accidentally eaten meat a few times, been vegetarian since I was 16, and I don't really care. Thank you for all your comments. Stories number 47, my trip to the dentist. TWSA, DV, I found a new dentist after moving to escape SA, DV, etc. She was lovely, but she asked why I had broken teeth and I told her about what my abuser used to do to me. She then told me about her own escape from an abusive spouse. I started crying because her story was so terrible. I held her hand. That's when the hygienist chimed in with her own story of abuse. The 3 of us held hands while the hygienist and I cried in sync. I guess that was a beautiful moment of empathy and sharing between total strangers. I admit that holding those poor women's hands made me feel happy and safe for a while. But how the fuck do so many women have these experiences? It's so widespread that I don't know many women who haven't been hurt this way. Every human being deserves love and friendship, respect and happiness. I hope all of you are safe, or safe-like, and have friends and fam to be there for you. You're all beautiful women and I love all of you. Stories number 48, AITA for refusing to cover my coworker's shift last minute. Hi everyone, I'm a nurse working at a busy hospital. Last weekend, my coworker called me at 6 a.m., asking if I could cover her 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift because she had a sudden personal issue. I had just finished a string of night shifts and was looking forward to my first day off in a week. I was exhausted and had plans to rest and spend time with my family. I apologized and explained that I couldn't cover her shift due to my own need for rest and prior commitments. She seemed upset and mentioned that she had no one else to ask. Later, I heard from another coworker that she was frustrated with me for not helping her out. So, AITA for refusing to cover my coworker's shift on short notice. Stories number 49, called my dad broke. Yesterday, I was driving my dad somewhere. As we're getting in the car, he first reprimands me for turning the car around in a place which he wouldn't have. I change topics and talk about how pretty the full moon is. He then makes fun of the way I said something and gives me a lecture on speaking properly. Mind you, I said, I saw the moon, which was grammatically fine. Anyway, my dad's had a long history of belittling my siblings, my mother and I. To the point where half of my siblings no longer speak to him. I usually just take it when he insults my intelligence and laughs in my face, but yesterday I just saw red and I wanted to say something as harmful as possible back. I said that he was ridiculous for insulting my intelligence when he never completed a degree and doesn't have a penny to his name in his old age. He lived off our child welfare growing up and had a large period where he just stopped working because he didn't feel like it. He got so offended and started saying I'm a horrible person, that no one deserves to have to go through the torture of being married to me, as if this was the biggest insult in the world, that I'm a disgusting human being basically. He blew up my phone with paragraphs upon paragraphs of how awful I am to the point where I had to block him. Am I wrong here? AITA. Stories number 50. What's something you thought was peak adulating, but turned out kinda disappointing? You know those things that just scream, I have my life together. Then you finally do them, and it's like, oh that's it. For me, it was getting a nice coffee machine. I thought it'd be my perfect morning ritual, grinding beans, frothing milk, starting the day just right. But some mornings, I still grab overpriced coffee because the effort just isn't worth it. Another one. Budgeting. I thought tracking every expense, color-coding everything, and balancing it all perfectly would make me feel in control. Instead, it just stressed me out. Every little mismatch felt like a failure. Now, I just check my balance, make sure I'm not broke, and move on. What's yours? Stories number 51. Myth of women being more emotional than men needs to die. I just had this conversation with my dad. I was telling him how many of the men I know are really sensitive, emotionally vulnerable, easy to anger etc. and then I realized that I don't know any woman that is so sensitive than most men I know. Most of women in my family, me too, and my friends never cry, are not so easily offended like men, can have a rational debate and are in general very composed and calm. As opposed to men who are so overly emotional, always angry, always offended by something stupid. Every time I open social media comments are full of rude and angry men seemingly without any proper reason. I sometimes disagree with things said on internet too, but I don't feel need to comment. I do sometimes but then I realize it will help them and not me. I don't understand where this myth that women are more emotional than men came from when at least in my life it's completely opposite. Stories number 52. Entitled parents keep parking in front of our driveway. For context, we live in an apartment building with 6 units. There are 2 parkings on each side of the building, for a total of 8 parking spots. Both entrances are wide, like 2 to 3 cars wide, but the parkings don't reach at the back of the building, only the sides, can't make a U-turn. Both entrances on the street and an elementary school is right at the end of that street, 2 houses down. There is a roundabout in front of that school for parents to drop off and pick up their kids. The morning aren't that bad as most kids walk or come by bus, or the parents very quickly drop them off into the roundabout. But lunches are crazy. My fiancé comes back home during his lunch hour and always has to tell at least 3 parents to move from the entrance of our driveway. They don't park in the driveway, just in front of it, 2 or 3 cars usually. We can also see them park in front of other people's driveways. It would be fine if they were just parked on the street, but they keep blocking us. Their answers are usually, can't you wait 5 minutes while I get my kid, or, you've got space to leave the driveway, or they ignore us completely. We called the school multiple times before to tell them what happened, but it seems the parents could use some lessons in listening skills as the problem never went away. Well, this week we've had enough. Parking illegally in front of a driveway is something the local police was very interested in, especially after 4 houses and 3 apartment blocks called them one after the other on the same day Monday. We all called back Tuesday when it happened again, and they told us, we hear you, just make sure your cars aren't parked in front of your own driveways and we'll take care of it. That night, the town had posted a notice on their page to not park in front of driveways when picking up dropping off your kids, and that a ticket could be issued. Subtle foreshadowing here. Well, yesterday was the day. 2 police cars came on the street and blocked in anyone who wanted to leave. They had prepared multiple infraction tickets, ready to be filled. They flagged down every single car that was parked even an inch in front of a driveway and issued tickets. The whole thing took at least an hour, as they wouldn't let anyone leave until everyone got their ticket and their gentle reminder not to park illegally. There was school today, and we allowed an officer to park in our driveway to supervise the dropping off picking up of kids at lunch. Guess the word got around fast as no one stopped in front of anyone's driveways. The officer said next time it happens, take a picture and send it to his email. A picture is a good proof of a crime committed, and in a small town like ours, finding people like them is the highlight of their days. So all ends well for us, and not too good for the parents with poor listening skills. Stories number 53. Had a mildly infuriating date a few weeks ago, so I meet this guy online and we hit it off. I end up driving over an hour to meet him. He tells me he doesn't like when people curse or use any negative language. At first I understood, but then it became weird when I'd say something like, "Oh man, I hate traffic on weekdays," and he said that was such a horrible thing to say and that I should only speak about positive things. Next we go to a restaurant where before I can speak he orders for me something I really didn't want to eat. I just didn't eat and watched him. At the restaurant all he gave me were one-word responses. In the car he explained that was his and his ex-GF's go-to restaurant. He said the staff knew him and he felt ashamed that he brought another woman there, so like why did you? He then farted in front of me loudly several times and then I went home. Not sure where to tell this story but it was super annoying. Stories number 54. Told an interviewer off. Finally snapped today with the stupidity that some hiring managers have. Interviewer asked me why I was laid off twice in a year and made a snide comment that they're not sure why the hiring manager even considered me for the role given such short tenure. I snapped back and said clearly you have not read the room and seen how poor decisions by management such as yourself have resulted in companies laying off people. Being laid off does not negate the contributions I made in my roles. I am no longer interested in working for your company. End video conference. I have never been so proud of standing up for myself. Update. Thank you to everyone posting their support and their experiences. I'm in between trying to calm myself down and wondering if it was the right move given how tough it is to come by an interview in this job market. I will say it was satisfying to burn that bridge. For all those that have had terrible experiences with hiring manager and their teams, I hope that you land at a better place. Update 2. I did email the recruiter to tell them about the experience. They asked me to hop on a quick call to discuss. They apologized for the interviewer's behavior, and that they will be reminding their hiring team to stick to the assigned questions for candidate assessments. The recruiter explained that the assessments were made to provide an equal assessment of candidates' ability to do the role. I'm glad there are recruiters out there that care and try to make job searching fair for everyone. Final update, got the rejection email today, not a surprise. But holy cow, thank you to the many people who came to comment and show their support with their experiences. This job market is truly trash and it's made all the harder by people who have no empathy and use the fact that they're currently employed to feel superior. Will the behavior ever go away? Probably not. But just once it was nice to stand up, push back when so many times we get beat into the corner and we accept it because we have no choice. Today is another day to apply to jobs and the world moves forward despite the anxiety of not knowing when or if I'll ever find a job, but as long as I can I will keep trying. Be kind out there, or at least don't be that asshole today or any other day because someone may just tell you off. Stories number 55. AITA for not letting my husband attend his sister's wedding. My husband, 31M, and I, 28F, are expecting our first child this May, 2025. We found out very early in September, 2024. We did not keep this a secret from anyone and in fact, shared the news in person with his family and my family on the day we found out. During this period, his sister, 29F, was getting to know someone and getting engaged in October 2024. It's sort of an arranged marriage as she was set up and decided to get engaged only after 3 months of speaking to the guy. Her parents, my in-laws, were happy that she liked him and wanted to quickly move forward. She's been wanting to get married for the past 5 years. After the engagement party in October, there was a brief discussion of when the wedding would be. His sister had mentioned that she wanted to be married by no later than April 2025. After our initial OB visit in September, my husband had mentioned to his parents that I would not be able to travel after 34 weeks as per the doctor. His mother decided to ignore this information and not address it. His sister and mother decided to plan on having the wedding in April 2025 even though they had not booked anything. His sister's fiancé lives in Texas, a 3.5 hours flight away. I briefly mentioned that I would not be able to attend in April as it would be too close to my due date but wished them all the best in their planning. February 2025 rolls around and they decided to have the wedding this upcoming April 19th of 2025 in Texas. I tell my husband that because I will be almost 37 weeks pregnant, that we would definitely not be able to go. A month prior, during a huge fight we had, his mom had told him it's okay if I don't go but that he would have to attend. At the time, I was not opposed to it, as I thought it would be fine. 2 weeks ago, we met with my OB, and I decided to ask her for advice while he was also in the room. I ask her for confirmation that it's not a problem if he were to travel during my 37th week. She looks at both of us and says, absolutely not. We both stare at her shocked and she continues and says, this would be like rolling a dice, I would not recommend it. If something were to happen, I would not be able to slow anything down. He unenthusiastically agrees and says it's messed up that they picked a date knowing we most likely would not be able to attend. It's now almost April, and he just told his mother that we will both for sure not be able to attend. My husband and in-laws have a huge fight and he explains the situation, so his dad threatens that he wouldn't attend either if he's not at the wedding. I don't budge after he tells me this and calmly state that he simply cannot attend 2 weeks before my due date as we're both having this baby together. So, AITA for not letting him attend his sister's wedding, AITA for changing my family's last name, secretly, while not informing anyone. I, 38F, got married 3 years ago to my husband, 41M. I changed my last name to his immediately following. My relationship with my in-laws was never super, but it was civil until about 2020 when our differences became obvious and were hard to reconcile. They have never welcomed me into their family, and never put forth any effort to be a part of our lives. At first my husband just said things like, "They are like this with new people, this is just how they are." Over time though, they have not only managed to alienate me, but my husband as well. They have implied I was a gold digger, and have called me quite a few unpleasant names. My husband had enough with them during our first year of marriage, and when he went low contact with them, they tried guilt, manipulation, and passive aggressiveness to get him to resume what we call his previous role in the family, being the one to do all the work in the relationship. When that didn't work, they basically cut us out. They never called much before, but now they never call and then act like it's our fault they don't and play the victim constantly. I have BPD, and my new last name just didn't feel like me, especially considering his family. After my diagnosis a year ago, my therapist explained sometimes people with BPD struggle with this since we struggle with identity as well. So it's been talked about a lot. My husband had suggested we both change our last names. I thought it was an interesting idea. I didn't want my maiden name back because it is hard to spell and pronounce and not at all common in our country. I liked his last name because it was such a common last name. We talked about this for about a year and settled my grandmother's, deceased, maiden name. It's common-ish, easy to say and spell, and we feel honors my family who we have to thank for our lovely life today. It was surprisingly easy. We set up a court date, filled out the papers, had a hearing all within a few weeks. Then, we changed it on social media. His family found out and is pissed. Some of my family found out and are pissed. They said we had no reason, right, what have you. I told all of them it was a decision between me and my husband and it was not up for debate. On his side, they cut us off and never even talked to us. On my side, no one OWNS the name and it left with my grandmother when she died. One of my aunts tried to say I needed their permission. IMO, the only permission I would have needed would be my grandma, or my father, both who have passed away. My mother thought it was a great idea and so did my siblings. We are getting bombarded. We are basically grey-walling. But it's not like it was a rash decision. We are both very happy with the change. But, the amount of backlash I've been getting has me wondering if we effed up by not announcing it or telling people in advance.